betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
Okay, let's do it. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio, as we say hi. April 8th, the day after the national championship game. Dustin Swedelson felt in the black, looking good at the win. SiriusXM Studios in Las Vegas. Just a great property. Great job, everybody there. Nia Hardman, all business back in New York City. Ryan Smith, of course, YouTube, Las Vegas. Got you covered coast to coast. You can find us on YouTube at VSiN Live. Stop in the chat. Say hi. Would love to see you there. Thank you for all you do there. Now, big guy, this is going to be the theme today. We're going to get everybody caught up because in the national championship game was exhilarating. We're going to go plenty through that. But what I think we all need to understand is now we have to turn the page, right? We have to find out where we at when it comes to the NBA. By the way, NBA, the game tonight, Lakers at the Thunder. The Lakers are playing everybody. Remember, that's important because tomorrow the Lakers return to Dallas. That is going to be the lead. No media roundup for tomorrow. The lead is Luka returning to Dallas for the first time because I think it's going to be intense. That's number one in the playoff picture right around the corner for the NBA. The regular season ends on Sunday. Baseball will get into the diamond dish with the big guy, get you caught up on the themes so far through 10, 11 games for these teams. Of course, NHL. By the way, NHL, if you're looking to bet, you can get the Toronto Maple Leafs at plus 150 down in Florida. I don't know why I know this, but Florida stinks right now. All right, that's a huge price. I've gotten into hockey a lot earlier than I usually do. That's a freebie. You don't have to tip me. We also just bet on, remember, the Warrior treatment back in the day. The Dodgers fell down 2-love in the first in Washington. So what do? You come back, get a plus money price on the Dodgers, and you cash the check. All right, so that's that. We're got so much to do. Masters week this week. A big story today in the NBA. Michael Malone was fired by the Denver Nuggets. Crazy. So Matt Moore is going to join us to discuss. Mike Somich is going to join. Stuart Durst and Thomas Gable from the Borgata there runs the race and sportsbook. We say hi to the big guy. Exhilarating. 65-63. So Florida does cover that 1.5. Oh, I'm bitter. Stays well under the posted total of 140.5. So the steam was correct bringing that total down. I'm going to state what I think, and then I want you to take over here. I know this is going to sound revisionist, but even with the 12-point lead in the second half, I promise you, I never felt like Houston was going to win that game. I swear on everything. In fact, I might have texted Tori. I don't know why. It's just a feeling. You have it when you're watching your favorite team. You have it if you're betting on a team. Sometimes you just get a feeling like, oh, yeah, they're not going to win. And even they were up 12 in the second half. I can't explain it, but I just remember thinking, there's no way Houston's winning this game. And obviously it came down to the end. Like Dustin said to me earlier on the phone this morning, he said, thought they were going to figure it out. I swear to you, big guy, I just never – it was a great game. Now, it was the ref show in the second half, which we can get into. A great game. For some weird reason, I just never – and I feel bad for Calvin Sampson. I never felt like they were going to win it last night.
I would have felt better as someone who had Houston plus 650 to win it all. I actually would have felt better if they were down 12 in the second half, not the team leading by 12. They don't feel like that team. They're not built to like withstand that. And then you got to tip your hat also to Golden. Todd Golden may be a freak. He may be a creep. He is a basketball mastermind. When you look at them coming back against Houston, they also came back the game before against Auburn, down 8 at the half, down 9 against Texas Tech. Before that, down 3 against UConn, the two-time defending champs. That guy had Houston right where he wanted them. He had them beating him at the half. So now Houston's waiting to see how Florida's going to adjust. And now Kelvin Sampson and company have to adjust to the adjustment. That put Houston on their heels. And at some point, Kelvin Sampson's going to have to find a way to develop an offense. I don't know if he needs to hire an offensive coordinator, a passing game coordinator, but someone needs to teach him how to draw up a play out of a timeout with X's and O's.
Yeah, especially the last where they don't even get a shot off, which is unconscionable. Yeah, I mean, he said it well. We do give Calvin Sampson a lot of praise, and if you watch his team play, I don't know how you coach effort, but nobody tries harder than a Sampson team. Elbows everywhere on rebounds, passing lanes just absolutely stuffed by arms. So they're going to out-try you. They're going to out-rebound you. They're going to out-defend you. But the offense just wasn't there in the second half in particular.
Yeah, and more importantly, you touched on it. I'm glad you brought it up because you're not big on people talking about refs. But if you're going to establish that the game style is going to be what it was in the first half, where the refs called 4 total fouls, and then in the second half, immediately just start blowing the whistle. We had 23 in the second half called, 23 fouls. You're changing the entire swing of the game with how you're deciding what is and isn't a foul in the moment of the game. So I'm not going to say the refs lost the bet for us. They didn't lose the game for Houston. I'm just saying their inconsistency made it kind of difficult for both teams.
Yeah, you mentioned 4 fouls called in the first half. We were on the air here at VSiN Live last night when that was going down, and we said this is tremendous. It's a great game. There's a lot of action, and the refs are staying the F out of the way. I've got even worse numbers. I've got 26 fouls called in the second half, 16 on Houston, 10 on Florida, 31 free throws. Less than 6 minutes into the second half, Houston was in the bonus. Both teams in the bonus with 12:06 to play. It was a ref. I have no clue because that was obviously concerted by the referees. I have no clue why they go into the break and say, we had a great first half, 4 fouls called. That was action-packed. Let's come out and wreck the game because that's what happened.
No, you established what Houston could and couldn't do, and Houston knew where the line was. It's like me with not knowing how far I can go with like the sexual references on the show. I know where the line is when the bosses or you step in and go, hey, that was too far. Houston didn't know because they were allowed to do whatever they wanted physically in the first half. Then second half, we completely changed what is and isn't allowed. But you also have to give a lot of credit to Florida. I felt like in the last 5 or 6 minutes, every time they got fouled, they were hitting an and one. Like they were hitting the shot they were fouled on, then hitting the free throw. They were spectacular down the stretch. It was ugly and clunky, but they just kind of found a way to hit the shots they needed to. And on the other end, the gaps in scoring with Houston were just inexplicable. That can't happen. You have too many guys who can shoot the ball well, and then we haven't even touched on the final possession.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. I want to get your reaction from that national championship game. Do you believe like I said exhilarating? Because even with the fouls, now the second half was disjointed because the way it was called, but I still thought that it was high drama. As much as I wanted Houston, as much Dustin had a future, we wanted Calvin Sampson. Todd Golden has a long runway of a career. He's going to win. We wanted Calvin Sampson at 69 years old. But I'll say this, the better team won. Florida's a better team. And I'm not really sure it's that close. I'm not as sure. I don't think it's a 2-point game. I think the effort from Houston is off the charts. The better basketball team is Florida. Well-deserved national championship, their third in program history.
Yeah, no, there's no doubt. Florida was the better all-around team. They had more versatility. They were more balanced. Houston was very one-dimensional, very scattered on offense. A lot of the points early came on putbacks and offensive rebounds where they dominated the offensive glass. I also want to kill the misconception out there that this tournament was all chalk. Sure, once the games were played, it was all chalk. But if you look at the college basketball season as a whole, Florida winning the national title is not chalk. The Gators were 60-1. They were ranked 21st in the preseason poll. Only one other team in the last 13 years has won the title after being outside the top 20. That was UConn in 2023. This is a team that became good in front of our eyes. But don't get it twisted. This was not a favorite going into the year. This wasn't the chalk everyone's saying it was. And as someone who likes to bet, who likes to look for long shots, I think it's great that a team that was 60-1 ended up cutting down the nets.
Yeah, and I have the odds for next year as well. We'll get into those. And
who's on those rosters?
Yeah, exactly. Maybe you brought up misconception or perception. Also, that you buy the players, the best players are going to end up in the.
Yeah.
There were 0 5-star recruits in that national championship game. So let me just repeat: there were 0 5-star recruits on either Houston or Florida. Golden, outside of his troubles, he can have any job in the country he wants. He's 39 years old. He is a brilliant coach. You could tell in the post game with the team kind of huddled around him, that he also has vibes with his players. He obviously can X and O the crap out of you. He can come out of the break with adjustments and motivation. You know, Golden is going to be the golden boy. Now, whether or not schools are going to hire him because of his past. Now, Florida's a great job. Donovan stayed there. You know, you can win national championships. That's been proven in 2 different iterations at Florida. So he can stick around there and build a dynasty. And it kind of be hard to build a dynasty in this kind of phase of college basketball. But Golden did a great job. And again, 0 5-star recruits, Dustin, in that game last night.
Yeah, look, in our recent memory, 3 national titles in football, 3 in basketball, like they can do both. And I think I'm curious, what other programs out there that legitimately can do both year in and year out? Florida is one of the few programs that can. I think for Golden, I think he stays there. I think what he just built in this season, was it year 3 for him down in Gainesville? It's now going to be a self-fulfilling thing. Players are going to want to play for him. Those players similar to Clayton, that were at a smaller program, but were really good, that need to have something untapped in their play to have them take the next step, they're all going to want to play for Todd Golden. And I'm curious, does he then go the route of, I want the 5 stars now, or does he continue to get the depth that he got in the portal and get these kind of in-betweener guys that he can keep for a couple seasons?
Yeah, again, and we'll get to your calls on this and the chat as well at VSiN Live on YouTube. Again, it sounds revisionist, but I never felt like Houston was going to win. They were up 12, and I can't explain it. What's that?
We said it when we left. Neither of us felt good. Neither of us felt like...
Yeah, 3-point lead at the half. 3-point lead at the half, and Elijah Martin and Clayton Jr. had done nothing. We're like, yeah, this is dicey. But up 12, I'm just like, I don't know. I can't explain it. It was just a feeling. I'm like, Florida's going to win this game. And by the way, when it came down to the end where it was back and forth, then you really knew Houston wasn't going to get a big bucket. You just knew they weren't going to get a big bucket.
No, there was no plan. Let's discuss the final shot, because the final shot's the story, or the shot that never happened, I should say, the final possession. I don't understand. They took so long to set up a shot that was going to be from the outside when you're down 2. Why are you even thinking about a 3 in the win? It's the national title game. Go play for overtime. You're the best offensive rebounding team in the country, or one of. Go to the rack. If you miss, fight for the rebound, get a putback, but shoot early in the possession. Holding it as long as they did to slowly set up what was a horrible look from deep, it just didn't make any sense in that moment. It was the opposite of what we saw from Kelvin Sampson against Duke. Kelvin Sampson against Duke doesn't call the timeouts. His players are coached up defensively to turn the ball over, use the press to their advantage, and put Duke on their heels. When they had the ball in their hands, they clearly had no idea what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, I totally agree. Hated the play call. They hadn't made a 3-pointer all night. Now you're setting up a potential game winner down 2. You're one of the best conditioned teams in the country. Force an overtime and take your chances there. Totally agree. Bleeding the clock when you could have an opportunity. Florida misses a couple of free throws coming back the other way. Hated it. Hated the set. I hate to say it, too, because we were jockeying Sampson so much. But like you said, maybe he needs a passing game coordinator, because that offense just left you wanting at the end. And it's not like Florida was electric on offense. No. Again, the total closed 140.5, and we had 128 points scored. That is a dead nut under.
Yeah, it just sucks because they've been an offense away for the last few years, and they finally could shoot the 3, but that didn't make them a good offense, right? Just because they could hit the 3 this year, you could tell they don't run sets. Like, guys are benefiting from the fact that they're super aggressive, rebounding the ball offensively, and they put the ball back a ton. Like, they're an effort team, as you mentioned, but they do not have anything diagrammed offensively that's inspiring. And Florida, on the other hand, like, they kept taking shots. They kept getting hit. They weren't getting the best looks, but they took whatever Houston gave them offensively, and eventually it got there.
Better team won.
Yeah.
I think that's what you step away from it thinking. And a lot of people that were high on Florida coming into the tournament ended up being proven right. I know a lot of sharp bettors that did like that Florida team. We are going to talk to Thomas Gable, who was running the book there at the Borgata last night, see how they bet it. But again, if you bet Houston, you have to tip your cap. because I do believe the better team won. It was a bummer towards the end. You would have liked to see at least a shot get taken, but you saw it happen in real time with my man that was going up for the three. I think it was Sharp. Was going up for the three, and tremendous perimeter defense. That would have been blocked so hard. So he lets go of the ball, can't double dribble. Nobody comes to bail him out, and Florida, as time expires, wins the national championship. As I said, they're third in program history. We got to give a shout out to our buddy, I believe it was JD, that called from Florida, played baseball in Gainesville. He had a $13,000 decision riding on the Gators, and he does cash it. So congratulations to JD. What we'll do is we'll take some calls here, and then we'll come back with the 2026 odds for college hoops, and then we'll move on. 888-623-3646. We say hi to start the program in Vegas to Greg. Hi, Greg.
What's up, guys? How you doing?
Good, Greg. What's up?
Hey, Pat, man, you dogged on Gainesville yesterday, man. It's a good basketball.
I did. I was rough on
game.
Gainesville. I was
Yeah,
rough.
you were a little rough. I mean, like the movie, insult them just a little bit. Listen, and I go back to the Mad Max days of Florida basketball. So Vernon Maxwell and Moten, and rest in peace, Dwayne Shinton. So I've seen it all, but it was a sleeping giant that Billy Donovan woke up. I mean, Kruger got him there. I thought Kruger had a chance to beat Duke in that one game, had a bad substitution pattern. But this team, no matter what situation you put them in, they could beat you. You wanted a run and gun, fine. They got into a rock fight last night, they were fine. They adjusted the game. Clayton said they studied that last play. They said, hey, when he goes there, he's going to pop out. And he mentioned it in one of the post-game interviews. Once you got there, I knew exactly where to go. I thought the scariest game for them, and I went to it. I went to San Francisco last weekend and watched them play Texas Tech with my son. Surprised him, and I was like, about 3 minutes left. I'm like, gosh, I hope I didn't waste all this money to get up here for the day and watch this game. But it was fun to watch, and I think Todd's going to stay for a while. He is really good at developing these guys, and I think that's good for the game. But this team could beat you any way you wanted to, and it was fun to watch. And the depth also, I think, helps them too. But let me ask you this: do you think they went for three at the end? Because also, I think they had 4 guys or 3 guys with 4 fouls. Well, they
did.
Maybe say, hey, if we got to overtime, we may not have anything left at the way that game was going.
Well, it's a great call, Greg. You're right about a lot. Well, I was in a mood. Listen, we all have bad days. I was in a mood, so I took it out on Dustin, and I took it out on Florida. I took it out on Gainesville. However, I felt bad because the reaction on campus after they won the championship was legitimate. So obviously the student body was into it. Listen, it's a great college town. It's a great sports team. But again, where I was also wrong. The better team was Florida. Now, it closed 1.5 points and they won by 2. So it's not like it was a rocking chair win for Florida, but they deserve to win the basketball game. That's all.
Everyone knows, by the way, Gainesville is the Paris of Northwest Florida, and then the London to that would be Tallahassee, 2 very classy towns. Gainesville is the upgrade, though, over Tallahassee, if we're being fair. But the point you were making yesterday was more that you didn't believe the basketball culture of Gainesville would travel to San Antonio. It did look like there was a lot of Gator gear in the stands. I agreed with you. I didn't think that was going to happen, but it turns out they believed their team was going to be there, and they made that trip to the Final Four.
I will also say the Alamo Dome played on television.
It did.
It aesthetically, you know what? It felt like a big game. It felt like a national champion. The vibe was, college sports, when done right, delivers. And last night it delivered. The tension, it was. I can't even imagine if you are Jim Nance. Jim Nance got more FaceTime than Walter Clayton Jr. But I can't imagine if you're somebody that is really a Houston Cougar fan watching that game, because if you had the feeling I had that they weren't going to win, yet you've been building towards this for 6-7 years, that was excruciating. Florida, another thing about Florida, we're going to hear from Calvin Sampson here, and I'll get back to your calls. Another thing about Florida, and you have to give Golden credit, they're tough.
Oh, They're very tough. I mean, you don't come back in every game in the tournament that matters down the way they were at the half, down late in a bunch of these games, and find ways to win without being a tough team. That is a resilient group. That's a team that believes in what they're doing. They believe in their process. They just kept plugging away, and eventually it got there. I think that's the most impressive part, is that they were down in every single game in the tournament that mattered, and it didn't matter. They found a way in the end. That's a dangerous team that's able to adjust the way they adjusted.
You want to play the clip? What do you got for me?
Kelvin Sampson, after the game, Cougars head coach, discussed that final possession.
I'm just going through those last two possessions more than anything else. It's incomprehensible in that situation. We couldn't get a shot.
Maybe draw up a better look. I'm sorry. There's no way that's the look they wanted. You're lying to us if you're protecting someone who made a mistake. There is no way, with the championship on the line, the look you wanted was a pump fake and a 3 when you're down 2. Also, when you wasted like 15 seconds of clock just jogging around with the basketball. If that's what you drew up, maybe you shouldn't be in charge of the offense anymore.
He's going to protect his players. That's what he's doing there. It was a disaster. It was the inverse of Duke, like you said, because they were so clutch and so prepared those final 10 minutes and even the final seconds against Duke. And the inverse was true against Florida.
They're built to create the chaos. They are not built offensively to withstand it. That's the problem. They don't hit enough shots, but what they are good at is putting a team on their heels, getting in transition, being athletic, and getting buckets in those spots. But they're not good for the role reversal. They can't handle having to hit crucial shots when it matters to extend the lead.
They certainly weren't last night. You're right. Now, again, we're killing Houston, and we have to be fair to Florida fans like Greg. You were the better team. You deserved the national championship. And Houston played their asses off. So they gave us a good game. Let's just put it that way. Let's go to Phoenix and say hi to 3 Chains here on VSiN Live. Hi, 3 Chains.
Listen, I was coming off like a 102.3 temperature the day before yesterday. So I watched the game 6, but like Michael Jordan, 3 Chains is a gamer.
Yep.
I want to know, and first of all, the reason why I hate your show is it made me go to the casino today on my first available day to play a parlay up here at Chin. I haven't been there in over 2 years, but and that's why I hate your show. But at the end of the day, how much did the affect the line on the game at the end? And the reason why I say that, he always say, "Oh, don't foul, the clock stops, you send the other team to the line," but it destroyed the continuity. And like I said, I was kind of like Houston. I was in and out of consciousness. And the last time I remember pulling for Houston, I was in the NCO Academy when Lorenzo Charles hit that follow-up back in 83. So I apologize for the Houston jinx. I apologize for Texas, for the Ohio State jinx. But and I'll take my answer on the air about how much you think the absolutely horrible officiating affected the over yesterday. And I appreciate the show, even though my pocketbook doesn't.
No, you'll be all right. I'm glad you're feeling better. 31 free throws, 26 fouls in the second half. It was a show. Stayed, even with the clock stoppage and all the free throws, stayed well with under the total. Let's quickly break because we have our buddy Matt Moore. The big NBA news today. Michael Malone, after 10 seasons, out with the Nuggets right before the postseason starts. We're back. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Tonight, 10 East on SiriusXM NBA Radio, Channel 86. The Warriors, in the thick of a tightly packed Western Conference playoff race, take on the Phoenix Suns. Hear every NBA game on SiriusXM. For a full schedule of times and channels, go to SiriusXM.com/sports. Okay, so we do welcome you back. And one of our longest standing guests on the program, from the Wrap now to VSiN Live here on Mad Dog Sports Radio, is Matt Moore. And it's a blessing and a curse for Matt Moore. When you become known nationally as the Nuggets guy, that's cool and that's status. But when something happens with the Nuggets, you grind your ass off. And Matt Moore has been talking all day. Of course, the Action Network NBA writer, Locked on NBA, Locked on Nuggets podcast at HP Basketball. So, Mr. Moore, it's been a busy ass day for you.
Yeah, haven't stopped talking, whether it's on the phone to sources or talking on programs and podcasts. It's been a busy day. I wish it was for better reasons. I wish it wasn't because people lost their jobs, because that's the unfortunate part of this industry.
Well, let's do that quickly. When you heard Michael Malone was fired, you're dialed in with the organization. Was it absolutely shocking, or could you see this coming?
Shocked, not surprised. Shocked because you got a week left in the season. Shocked because he is the winningest coach in the history of the franchise. Shocked because he is the coach that led them to a championship and was instrumental in the development of Nikola Jokic. Not shocked because this had been coming. The disconnect with the team, the tension with the front office, and about a month ago, after their defensive slide continued, I asked Malone in a press conference, hey, the defense is just not getting there. The things that you talk about in here, they're still not happening. What are your kind of thoughts on what it's going to take for guys to lock in? You try and ask it in such a way that's not like, hey, so why are they not listening to you? Because that's not cool. But Malone's a pretty straight shooter. And he was like, honestly, I don't know, Matt. And he was like, I think I've been wrestling with that problem myself. Like, that's keeping me up nights. Is like, how do I get these guys to execute the way that we know we need to? And the players were defensive of Malone. They said, it's not on the coach. We know what we need to do. We're just not doing it. And that, for whatever reason, I think was a big part of this. The slide, the Wolves game was devastating. They put a lot into that game. They put a lot of eggs into that basket, and to come up short in that way, they then had to rest guys on the second night of a back-to-back versus the Spurs, and then they put a lot in to get ready for the Warriors game, and they get outclassed in that game, and then the Pacers game, they fall apart. All of this without Jamal Murray. That's devastating. It was a confluence of events, and it has to do with the tension between the front office and Calvin Booth, who has announced today that he will not be retained, not fired, by the way, just will not be retained this summer. And the tension between him and Michael Malone and the after effects of that throughout the organization and the locker room.
Okay, so explain the Calvin Booth element to me, just because what I've read so far today, Matt, is that Malone and Booth really weren't aligned, and then ownership wasn't aligned with either of them. So can you help us dial up the diagram that makes sense of why Booth and Malone are both no longer with the Nuggets today?
Yeah, so this started the year when Booth took over. He wanted Malone to play young guys, all the young guys, Christian Brown, Peyton Watson. Christian kind of earned his minutes, and so he got rotation minutes in the playoff run. They won a title, and when you win a title, it fixes everything, and everybody's like, no, we're good. And the whole message coming into the following season was like, yeah, like, we disagree on things, but like, there's a healthy tension there. And it got worse from there, because Booth then drafted Jalen Pickett, Hunter Tyson in the second round, and Julian Strother, and wanted those guys to play, sign them to guaranteed contracts, multi-year guaranteed contracts, which were just allowed under the new CBA. And Booth's idea was, with the new CBA, you have to go young, or you wind up like the Bucks, cycling through veterans, Jay Crowder, Wes Matthews, those guys. You don't want to do that. You want sustainable growth around Jokic. But you're trying to do it with these end of the first round, second round guys, and they simply weren't good enough to crack into the rotation for a team that had championship expectations. Malone's can't play development time when the rest of those veterans are like, we're winning games now. This is the part of my career when I want to win. And that causes more and more tension, and then distrust grows. And then you have situations where both feel like the other one's trying to get them fired. I was told by multiple people today that they felt like you were either a Calvin Booth guy, or a Michael Malone guy. And if you were talking to the other side, it was like, what are you telling them? That's how suspicious and paranoid it got. And you can't operate an organization that way. So ownership's been around more recently. They saw this problem and they decided to go ahead and make the move now. It gives them time to evaluate David Adelman as a possible replacement head coach. He's going to have a lot of offers this summer for various jobs. There's 2 positions that I think are going to be very active in pursuing him. They get a chance to evaluate him. And ownership was so confident that they were either going to lose in the play-in tournament or first round that to them it was, let's do something to try and salvage this, to try and maybe spark an unlikely run while we evaluate Adelman and get ready to make the decisions going forward.
Matt Moore joining us. Busy day for him. The Denver Nuggets fire Michael Malone just a week out. The regular season concludes on Sunday, so fascinating timing of the move. I maybe it's because I'm skeptical at this point. Player empowerment. My assumption is, Matt, that Jokic would have to sign off on this. He's probably the most important player to any organization across the 4 majors. Does he sign off?
My understanding is that Jokic was consulted by ownership prior to the decision. I don't know if they flat out asked, hey, we're thinking of firing these guys. Is that okay? I don't think that that question was levied. What I can tell you is that Nikola Jokic did not request that either party be fired. Multiple sources. That tracks with everything we know about Jokic. This is speculative on my part and not reporting. This is what I feel confident in saying Jokic's answer would have been. That's not my job. My job is to play basketball. I play basketball for who you hire to coach and who you hire to GM. That's my job. He understands it's a business. He's very level-headed about these types of things. Malone means a lot to him. He was the first coach to believe in him. He was the first coach to give him this opportunity. And for all the criticism that Malone has caught along the way, as every coach that manages a superstar seems to get now, the worst you could say about Malone is he didn't stop Jokic from becoming an NBA champion and 3-time MVP. The best you could say is that he enabled him along that way, and there will always be a strong relationship between those two. I will tell you that Nikola Jokic's frustration with this season absolutely played a part in the ownership's decision to part ways with both parties. That it was palpable, it was seen on television, and also in conversations. Jokic has been frustrated and, to be honest with you, miserable this season. That played a part in these decisions for sure.
I think Jokic has every right to be. He's 30 years old. He's having the best season we've ever seen from a player in our lifetime statistically. And Matt, that roster is just not good. How did we get to this point where the roster is what it is, where they're letting guys like KCP go and Bruce Brown they're unable to retain following the championship? I know it's a salary cap league, but you have the best player right now of this next generation post like LeBron's prime. How is this the best that they could do?
Combination of factors. So they signed the big 4, Yoke, Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr. under the prior CBA. And under the prior CBA, $40 million for MPJ is a no-brainer because otherwise you just lose him for nothing. Oh, it's no big deal. We'll just sign him and then we'll trade him later and it's fine. Because those contracts were movable. Under the new CBA with the second apron rules, those teams are now all of a sudden like, whoa, can't take on $40 million for a guy with 2 back surgeries, buddy. That can't play defense. That's not doable. So that changes the equation. You sign these guys like Jalen Pickett, Hunter Tyson to these guaranteed deals. Zeke Naji on an extension with the idea that he would play, develop, get better, and be tradable. That's a big point that was a huge point of tension between Booth and Malone. Was he wanted Zeke to play so that he could get better, so that he could trade him, and Malone was like, I can't play him because if I play him, we're worse and we lose. And so that tension, they were never going to be able to solve that. They removed the flexibility for them to. Now, KCP this summer was pretty simple. Ownership believes in Christian Brown. CB has had a phenomenal season offensively, and he's gotten a lot better, honestly, defensively over the course of the season, even as the Nuggets defense has gotten worse. He's a serious MIP candidate. He was the one guy that ownership, management, coaching all agreed on. CB's awesome, does everything the right way. We believe in him. So they were going to give him the starting job and let KCP walk regardless. They did not make a serious effort to retain KCP. They probably should have done more just from a respect standpoint, but they were never going to keep KCP. But they didn't add any veterans. They didn't clear out space. They didn't bite the bullet and waive Hunter Tyson or waive Jalen Pickett or find a way. They had already traded second-round picks to dump Reggie Jackson in order to sign Russell Westbrook, who Nikola Jokic wanted. You had to use assets to do that. They had no way to move guys to get the salary off the books to bring in veterans. So that's what left them with this roster that simply doesn't have as good around him, on top of injuries and some fatigue for Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Jamal Murray this season.
What's the ceiling postseason time? Sometimes there's a spark with a change in coaching. It's generally short-lived. What's the ceiling for this Nuggets team?
There's an internal belief that this could spark something. You still have Jokic. You still got Jokic. You have the best player in basketball. The roster is still made up. The starters are all guys that were in the top 6 of the 2023 championship team. They're missing one guy from that. That's just KCP. Top 7 if you count Bruce Brown. And that's a big loss. If they get the right series of matchups, sure. I just don't believe the defense is going to improve that much. I think David Adelman's a really good coach, and what I'll be interested to see is what changes Adelman feels empowered to make. Is he going to change Jokic's rotation? Because an easy way to fix some of their bench problems is to change Jokic's rotation, which is Jokic's preference. He plays all first quarter, all third quarter, comes back in at the 8-minute mark. You change that to where he plays the first 8 minutes, sits the final 4, comes back in to start the second, and you can alleviate some of those problems. I don't know if it matters with Jamal Murray having hamstring inflammation and you don't know if he's coming back, but it's at least one idea. But defensively, I don't know how they solve this, because the players have been frustrated with the number of changes that they're making on the fly to try and fix their defensive issues. And that's mostly a personnel problem. They don't have the defenders. You used to be able to get by with Murray, Jokic, and MPJ defensively because you had Aaron Gordon and KCP, and together they could do enough. Aaron can't hold that up anymore. He's a little worse this season because he's banged up. And now the other 3 are really being exposed. I don't think they can get out of the first round.
How about this? What does the Malone firing say about where the NBA's at right now? Like a state of the NBA is being a head coach, because Budenholzer out after 2 years, right? Vogel after 2 years in a title, Nurse, there might be one more I'm missing, but now there's Malone, 2 years post-title, he's fired. Patrick and I have been talking about it a lot on the show lately. The player empowerment thing, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube, but it feels like we may have come too far here. What does this firing going with those others say about the state of the league?
So what's funny about the player empowerment thing is it's the reason for it, but not for why you think. The player empowerment era is why they adopted the new CBA, which gives owners the ability to say, can't spend into the second tax. It restricts our flexibility too much. Can't build a winner. And that's what you're seeing here. These coaches that are getting fired because the GMs can't make trades to improve the roster. You used to be able to be like, hey, this is not going well. Let's make a move. Let's change things up. All right, let's bring in some new veterans. Oh, let's go get a wing that can help us. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. You can't do it anymore. We saw one of the quietest NBA trade deadlines outside of, the biggest trade in NBA history in Luka Doncic, in part because of that new CBA. And so those restrictions are why I think we're here in a place where Taylor Jenkins gets fired and Michael Malone gets fired so late, because it's like, look, you got to do something. And if you can't do anything else, immediately, what do? You fire the coach. That's just what happens in the NBA.
Yeah. Matt, I'm glad you brought that up. The unwillingness to go and pay that tax, to go over the threshold. If you're the NBA and you have a generational player in Denver, in Jokic, and ownership is willing to do that, to take that next level, to compete at the top, to capitalize on this, doesn't that kind of send a message that the ownership doesn't care about winning all the way?
So again, the answer here is if you're in that second apron, it's not about the tax money. Although if you ask, they're like, well, that's part of it, but not like the main reason. You can't aggregate players and trade. So the Nuggets currently, if you were able to make trades right now, because they're over the second apron, they can't trade Michael Porter Jr. and somebody else. You could only trade one guy. They couldn't bring in free, like, buyout signings. They were not able to do so. And so when you don't have this flexibility, you are stuck. Now, Booth, I think, put himself in that same position by, again, giving these guys these guaranteed deals and not keeping the rest of the roster liquid. But that CBA change, it's hurting everybody. It's a big reason the Suns couldn't do anything. It's a big reason you saw a lot of teams stand pat at the deadline, is you don't have the ability to, because of what it means for your flexibility in the case of emergency.
Okay, last question, Matt. We'll let you go. It's been busy. Tell me if you agree with this. Jokic is going to miss out on the MVP this year. He's going to average a triple-double with the best shooting numbers in doing so. This is one of the great seasons in the history, 80-plus years of the league. I still have more of a problem with him losing to Embiid a couple of years ago than I will SGA this year. Do you agree?
Yeah, that one was honestly worse. Shea is very deserving. They won so much. that was an incredible season. This is a better one. I will say it's weird that it's like a 3-time winner is going to have his best season and not win in the best season. But ultimately, like, winning should matter in pro sports. Winning should matter. If we're going to talk about what's valuable in the NBA, well, first thing's money. But the second thing's winning. And you got to win the games. And regardless of how great Jokic is, sometimes the MVP is not fair. And that's just a reality. And it's not going to be fair, but that's the reality, is the Nuggets did not win enough this season for Nikola Jokic to win MVP.
Yeah, I think it's fair, but shame on all you voters that voted for Embiid because of the campaign that he put together a couple of years ago. That sucked. That is ridiculous. Don't have fatigue when we're talking about the greatest player that we're ever going to. Anyway, I'm now pissed. Matt Moore, the Action Network NBA writer, Locked On NBA, Locked On Nuggets podcast at HP Basketball. You're the best. Get some rest. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, thank you very much. That I mean that. He is going to finish with a trip dub. Oscar, obviously, Russell Westbrook. These are the best shooting numbers. He doesn't. I mean, he's literally like a 40%. He's 42% from three. Like, he's having the dumbest season you can imagine, but not enough wins. My issue is more with a couple of years ago when Embiid literally campaigned. And if you don't think campaigning works, you know who the favorite in the market for Defensive Player of the Year is right now? That is Draymond Green. He is not the best defensive player in the NBA, but he's campaigned and he's going to get it.
The Jokic thing, though, also Kendrick Perkins was the campaign manager for that run for Embiid a few years ago. The thing about Jokic
Perkins is a loser.
The Jokic.
No. Kendrick Perkins is horrific at what he does. I know you're getting uncomfortable. Let me be very clear. He says that Jokic stat pads. Why aren't people in this dumb NBA Twitter and broadcast willing to say what needs to be said? That dude shouldn't be on television and says stupid shit.
Fact. I'm not arguing with you there. But he's the one who led that campaign. He's the one who started the narrative of saying Joel Embiid and Jokic isn't as special. He hasn't won a title yet, and we're going to hold it against him. Meanwhile, the guy that they chose to run the campaign with, Joel Embiid, hasn't won a title and doesn't play full seasons. So it doesn't make any sense. But the thing about Jokic this year that blows my mind, he's averaging 30 points a game. He's the best passer in the NBA. That's insane.
Yes, it is.
That's all.
And look at his shooting numbers. His shooting numbers. He plays every game. Why did I get worked up? I don't know. You know why I get worked up about it? Because we talk about player empowerment. The media empowerment of this soft ass league is an issue too.
Well, no, the NBA of the groups that cover a league, like there's really not a lot of interesting people covering the NFL. There's a lot of people that cover the NBA who think they're way more interesting than they are.
Yeah. And you know what else we have to start recognizing? Former players are often terrible at analyzing their own sport. That is something that people need to pay attention to. 888-623-3646. We'll catch you up on the NBA next and take your calls.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Yeah, just think about the West this year in the NBA. Luka traded to the Lakers. AD traded to the Mavs. Jimmy Butler traded to the Warriors. Taylor Jenkins fired by Memphis. Mike Malone fired by the Nuggets with a couple of days left. And seeds 3 through 8 in the West are separated by 2 games. West is a reality show right now. It's pretty wild. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher at VSiN Live on YouTube. We say hi in the chat. Let's get back to the calls and say hi to our buddy Chad in California. Hi, Chad.
What's up, fellas? Always a pleasure. Great spot with Matt Moore. As always, love when he comes on. Look,
Thank you.
I think the craziest stat, Jokic is second in the NBA in steals, bro. Like, it doesn't even make any sense. And you're 100% right with the Embiid stuff. I mean, that was ridiculous. And that brings me back to, when Steve Nash won over Kobe and then Steve Nash won again over Shaq. So we've seen it before. And SGA probably is going to win. And Matt Moore brought up a good point about, Oklahoma City just played out one more game. But shouldn't that even give Jokic more of a reason to win? I mean, we just fired the coach 3 games left in the season. Murray's been hurt. Gordon's been hurt. Jokic is putting up, like you said, probably the best season we've seen in the history of basketball. I mean, to me, that's Green's MVP. I mean, let's just take everything, forget the team winning percentage. He's just the best player in the world. And as far as Malone goes, that one was shocking to me. I get the boost stuff because Tim Connolly, and we talked about this years ago, Patrick, Tim Connolly was such a great GM and what he did for this franchise. And I kept telling you, it's going to work. It's going to work. We're going to win a title. And then he leaves and builds Minnesota up instantly. We win with Booth, but Booth didn't really do anything to help us. All he's done is kind of ruin the team that Connolly built, and you see how good he is in Minnesota. So Booth made sense. But Malone, I don't know, man, because he's like a player's coach. He has that dog New Yorker mentality to him. The team kind of rallies around him. He had Jamal Murray's back when Murray had the surgery. He kind of gets mouthy with the Lakers fan, which I love out here in L.A., but that one kind of hurt. But this Adelman guy, he's highly regarded, so we'll see what happens. But like Matt Moore said, I mean, we just came to a point where something had to give. I mean, this franchise, which was set up to win multiple championships, all of a sudden is going downhill quick.
Good job, Chad. Chad is nice to hear from you. Chad is also a Nuggets fan. So, not to be hyperbolic about the season that Jokic is having, so let's put it in context. I think you could argue. Now, you had a 50-25 season from Will Chamberlain, but times were different. I think you could argue, all things considered, it's the greatest season an individual's ever had. He's averaging 30 points a game on the dot. He's averaging 12.8 rebounds, 10.2 assists, shooting 58% from the field, and 41.5% from three as a 7-footer and averaging close to 2 steals a game, as Chad just said. That to do those numbers in one game would be insane. He's done it for a season.
Let me ask it to you this way. If Jokic hadn't won MVP a year ago, would he win it this year? Because that's what these voters have to ask themselves. The reason they're not voting for him this year is because he won it last year, and that's just not the principle of the award. The principle of the award is the best player. I know they call it valuable, but you go back, you look at baseball, Ohtani. Last year, Jokic in the NBA, right? The only time in recent memory I can remember where it was most valuable over best player was Josh Allen in the NFL. But for instance, with Ohtani, Francisco Lindor was the most valuable player that launched the team into the playoffs, but Ohtani's the best player in the league. There's a lack of consistency when it comes to the MVP award. Sometimes we decide it's best player. Sometimes we decide it's most valuable, a guy carrying a team into the playoffs. But I think these voters, if they're being honest, they want to vote for best player. The only reason they're not voting for Jokic is just because he won it last year.
Yeah, I just pick a player that's good. Let's say Jaylen Brown. If you woke up and you saw Jaylen Brown scored last night, 30 points, grabbed 13 boards, and got 12 assists, you would say, did you see what Jaylen Brown did? Jokic just averaged it for a season.
And
like,
so,
what?
And here's another hole to poke through it, because they'll say, well, Denver's not having as good of a year as Oklahoma City. But think about it this way. Denver's 47-32. They're currently the 4 seed. Where are they in the standings if Jokic isn't having this year?
No. There are a lot of teams. There are a lot.
Yeah.
They're a bottom 5 team. They're a bottom 3 team in the NBA without Jokic. I believe without SGA, Oklahoma City would be fighting for the 1 seed.
They would definitely be a playoff team. They'd be in that 2 to 4 range, somewhere in there.
Sure.
They have enough depth. They have team defense. They have a style of play that works for them. But if you said, all right, we're starting the NBA over, we've botched this, and Adam Silver should actually look himself in the mirror and think that he botched it. Let's have a fantasy draft and redraft the whole league. Number 1 pick every single time is going to be Nikola Jokic, because whoever gets him, they're going to contend to win a title year 1.
I mean, but SGA's team is going to win what? 70 plus games, and his numbers are insane too. So I don't really have a problem with SGA, to be fair. I just have a problem with Embiid. Embiid got the MVP and then shut his career down.
Yeah. He went all in one time, and since then, he's never been able to play a whole season.
He literally was popping bottles with his teammates when he was announced the winner, and then essentially hasn't played basketball since because of the campaign. It's embarrassing. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888 623 3646. Who do we got coming up? Our buddy
Thomas Gable.
Thomas Gable, straight from the Borgata. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN is on SiriusXM Channel 158. You can get 24/7 sports betting coverage on Channel 158 and the SiriusXM app. And as an exclusive offer for SiriusXM listeners, that's you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for $19. That gets you a daily email with all the best bets from hosts and their guests, exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa Sportsbooks, plus our Kentucky Derby betting guide, the NFL betting guide. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SIRIUS to unlock this special offer. VSiN, the sports betting network. As we do welcome you back, it's VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Shalom to the big guy, Dustin Swedelson. I'm Patrick Meagher. Last night, I'm sure it was busy at the book at the Borgata, the best property on the East Coast. And Thomas Gable was behind the book. He runs it, the racing sports book at the Borgata. TG, he's my guy. We were texting about it last night. He knows I was bitter. He's a big Calvin Sampson guy. Thomas, I'll say this as I say hi to you. I swear to you, even up 12, I can't explain it. I never felt like Houston was going to win the game. Did you have a feel for that game in the second half?
Well, I know when we were texting, you expressed that. You literally said to me that you don't feel good, even though Houston was in the lead at that point when we were texting. You said you do not feel comfortable, and that they should have been a lot further ahead.
Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, I had a feeling it was going to come down to be a coin flip game, even with the lead that Houston had built up, because we've seen it time and time again. With this Florida team, they just can rip off an 8-0 run, a 9-0 run. They're never dead. And it didn't matter whether it was, Texas Tech or with UConn. This team is just never out of any game. A lot of people were making that argument about Houston when they came back against Duke. But, I mean, Florida is built the same way. Like they're never out of any game because of the offense, one, that they can put up. And you have to remember, this is a very good defensive team as well. A lot of the discussion was around Houston's defense, and rightfully so. They are the number one defense in the country. But Florida they are not slouches on the defensive end either. And they're a complete team. The Final Four as a whole from Saturday and then last night's game in the final, I thought was tremendous. Yes, I know everybody has kind of stated that, Cinderella may be dead now in college basketball, and we're going to be left with pretty much the way that this tournament went, which was all chalk most of the way. But, it gave us a tremendous, tremendous Final Four, a great final last night. And truly the top tier of college basketball, the top four teams who truly there is a distinction between those four teams that were in the Final Four and level tier two, whatever you want to call it, where maybe Tennessee and Alabama and Michigan State, Texas Tech are on that tier two. This tier one, these were the four teams, and pretty much three of the four were in that tier one all season long, that being Houston, Duke, and Auburn. Florida played themselves into that throughout the year. In the last 2 months, month and a half, you could say they rightfully were in that tier one. And that's why you could get some really good prices on Florida throughout the year. I mean, this was a team that didn't have really high expectations going into the season, but you saw slowly, the progression, and I had to keep increasing the power rating on them week after week, and it was finally a team that I said, what, before I completely missed the boat, let me get a future on them, and I did a couple months ago and grabbed 20-1. So yeah. I was fortunate to have that in pocket, and I was also very fortunate that Houston beat Duke because I could get a much easier hedge that way, which is what I ended up doing. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think it was a tremendous final. I feel bad for Sampson. This was definitely his best shot. I think this team was his best shot at winning a title, and it came up just short. And I also feel while there may have been some errors on their part, and certainly that last possession left a lot to be desired. The officiating, there has to be something said about the officiating and the lack of consistency between the two halves. Houston is a team that plays super physical, and I made the case before the Duke game that a lot was going to come down to how that game was called. And if they were calling it, pretty much to the letter in every foul and not letting Houston play physical, they were going to be in for a long night. And last night, first half, that it was called that way. You were allowed to be physical. Houston was allowed to, play the way that they want to play. And in the second half, that wasn't the case anymore, and it completely flipped.
Yeah, TG, by the way, I agree with your first point. Florida is kind of a Cinderella story. They were 60-1. They were ranked 21st in the opening poll. I mean, it's not a true Cinderella going all the way to the end, but 60-1. I'm curious. You got 20-1 on them. When did people start kind of betting them for futures? Because they became a very popular pick among sharp bettors.
Yeah, Sharps was definitely earlier. I mean, I would say maybe, when the general public started buying on them, it was a little too late. I guess never too late if you end up with a winning ticket, but certainly the best prices were gone when the general public, which was, I would say, maybe 2-3 weeks left in the regular season before the SEC tournament. That's really when you saw kind of an uptick in interest in futures by the masses in terms of getting a national championship ticket on Florida. But so we actually, from a future book perspective, after Duke was eliminated, we did have liability on Duke, not as bad as some places. I know a lot of sports books were breathing a sigh of relief when they were eliminated because a lot of places had liability on Duke. We had some. It wasn't a terrible scenario for us, but we actually had more liability on Houston than Duke. But we were in great shape on Florida going into the tournament, and certainly going into the last night in the future book. We won big to Florida.
Well, I'm glad you said it because I wanted to give you props, but 20-1, that's a good job by Thomas Gable, race and sportsbook director at the Borgata, Atlantic City, joining us here at VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. How did they bet the game individually last night?
Very balanced action, which you would come to expect with the spread being what it was. I made that game a pick. Obviously, it went off either Florida 1 or 1.5, depending where you were betting it. So when a spread is that tight, you're pretty going to have basically balanced action on a game like that, and that's what ended up happening. Now, in play, I will say we won a lot last night on in play just because everybody was betting Houston in play. I mean, we took very little money on Florida in play. Maybe some came in there towards the end, but it was from the outset. Almost all the in-play money was on Houston.
Yeah, that frustrated me, TG. I was able to hedge a little bit my Houston plus 650 ticket, but I didn't really hedge a ton because when Houston was up big, I was like, you know what? The refs are calling it in a style of game that Houston wants to play. So even if Florida makes the game, I think they'll still, there's not enough time left. And in the end, I end up being wrong. I'm curious your thoughts on Todd Golden now. Just 39 years old. He's at Florida. What impressed you the most about him during this run? And then secondly, do you expect him to be in Gainesville for a long time? Or do you think maybe there's another job that could poach him?
I guess potentially, somebody could come along, but I think he's probably going to be there. I think he's going to remain there. And, winning the way that he did with this group of kids, he returned a lot of the roster. I mean, they made up a lot of the minutes this year of returning players, and that seems to be, I realize we've only kind of been dealing with this transfer portal for maybe 4 years now, I believe. But it does seem to be a difference in March when you have kids who are returning and have experience playing with one another more than just that season. And Golden had that this year. He certainly had buy-in from the team, and listen, it is a new era in college basketball. It's for coaches, it's tremendously different than what it was even 6, 7, 8 years ago, and unfortunately, if you're a coach at a smaller school, you're up against it. So it's either if you have a good season, a really good season, and you can make a name for yourself and can get maybe an offer from a bigger school, you have to jump ship, I think, at this point. So you're seeing a lot of coaching changes. But Golden, I mean, he has something good there, I think, at Florida. Florida, this is a good program, and I think they're going to continue to be strong, obviously playing the SEC. I don't really see too many jobs that I would look at and say, oh, that would be a better fit for Golden than what he currently has. But I just think, we have seen the effect now of NIL and the portal, and maybe Cinderella is done and gone. You might get a team here or there that can win a game or two in future years in the tournament, but to get to a Final Four, I mean, it's going to be really, really difficult with how much money and the difference in money that these bigger programs have compared to the smaller schools. I mean, look, there was a school that was in the tournament this year. It was in the play-in. They were in the play-in round, but they literally made the tournament, and that was St. Francis of Pennsylvania. After they were eliminated there, they lost the play-in game. They announced they're leaving Division I sports. They're going back to Division III. And this is a team that was just in the tournament this year. And because they can't compete in terms of money and NIL, and they know that. And I think you're going to see some of these smaller schools probably elect to do that just because it's there's nothing there, I guess, for them that they see. And if they can be successful more in, the Division III than in a Division I, I think they're going to opt to do that. And I think the power is going to be concentrated at the top.
Well, speaking of the future, have you posted your futures for next year's college basketball season? My assumption is Duke's going to be the favorite in the market. Have you posted yet?
No. I know some places do. I wait because you just don't know who's going to be where at this point. I mean, it's I don't know really even where you would start making numbers. I mean, yeah, Duke would probably be up there. I'm sure UConn's going to probably be priced up towards the top as well. But, I mean, for the vast majority of the country, I would have no idea until you get more clarity on where kids are going to go because there's so many kids who are in the portal.
Yeah, Duke, by the way, is the favorite, 10-1. Houston, 12-1. UConn, as you said, 14-1. Purdue, 16-1, and then it gets bigger from there. Interesting, Arkansas, 20-1. Kansas, 20-1. If I had to tell you next year, Kansas bounces back after a down season this year with Bill Self at 20-1, or Calipari gets all he needs year 2 in Fayetteville, which one would you like better at 20-1?
Well, I'm not a Calipari fan, just the way that he coaches, but I know that the guy's going to be able to recruit, and he has a ton of NIL money, so I would probably lean that direction with Arkansas. And Kansas, I guess, maybe got a favor already done for them because Dickinson already entered the portal, so he won't be on the team.
Wait, he still has eligibility?
He has 1 year left, yeah.
Oh, my God, he's been in college forever.
I know.
Turning the page now, I know how much you love college hoops, but obviously we've got the NHL postseason, the NBA postseason around the corner. They brand the Bluegrass today. You got the Kentucky Derby coming up. What's the action? How does the transition? Yeah, how does the transition for you at the Borgata coming up here?
Well, this week is all about golf.
Masters
the Masters.
Week. Yep.
I mean, this is Masters betting is huge. I mean, it's certainly the highest handle golf event of the year. Now, this is also the one outright winner pool that is up all year long, pretty much. So you can bet Masters futures all year. that's not the case for, most of the time, all the tournaments, you're putting them up on Monday for a Thursday start. So you only have a couple days to take action there. Not the case with the Masters. So it's a pool that's you're constantly adjusting prices on guys throughout the year based on how they're playing. And this year, I mean, you're also putting up a ton more props than you typically would for a normal tour event. So, we're just we have a bunch up already. Besides just the placement markets, top 5, top 10, we have a ton of hole-in-one props, literally specific to a hole. So, will there be a hole-in-one on 12 or on 16, depending by round? There's a lot more matchups that we put up than we typically would for a normal tournament. So it's all about golf. Everybody comes out to bet the Masters, even people who don't bet golf week to week. So that's what this week is pretty much all about. Obviously, the NBA is going to be wrapping up here the regular season. Same with NHL. I mean, looking at the NBA lines, tonight. I mean, there's obviously people who are going to be sitting. Pretty much, I think the Bulls just passed on this game tonight against the Cavs, and I guess are going all in tomorrow. So you're seeing some big spreads in the games tonight and some movement there. But that's the way the regular season kind of always ends in the NBA. With you got to question motivation sometimes with some of these teams.
Not a shock in the Masters, TG. Scheffler's the favorite at 4-1, then Rory, John Rahm's 13-1. Just curious, who are like the 2 or 3 golfers that they seem to be betting this year going into the event?
Yeah, I mean, Scheffler and McIlroy, certainly they're the 2 favorites, and they're taking the majority of the handle, majority of the ticket count. But in terms of guys who are a little bit further down the board, Hovland at 33-1, Victor Hovland 33-1. We have some liability on him. He's been pretty popular. Colin Morikawa, who is really in great form coming into this tournament, 14-1. We're still in decent shape. I do like Morikawa overall. And Shane Lowry, also another guy who is in good form. He's strokes gained. Tee to green, he's up there top 5 right now for the year. He's also a great scrambler, which, as you know, Augusta, around the greens, the play around the greens and on the greens is so important.
It's a fun sport to bet. Stop by the Borgata and do so. The Masters week. It's a great week. TG, great job with this college basketball season. I know for you, I know you're sad it's over, right?
Yeah, I am. I mean, I am. It's I certainly like the break now that I can get here. You go like crazy really from week 0 of college football, and there's no break whatsoever through the tournament. So now this week you can start to relax for a couple of months.
All right. Well, you deserve it. Thomas Gable, race and sportsbook director there at the Borgata. TG, congrats on your Florida play, and we will talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Thomas Gable. So he now turns the page and doesn't stop behind the counter. They start booking, obviously, the Masters this week, which is a fun sport to bet if you haven't gotten into it.
Well, I was just thinking college basketball is his favorite sport, but the least favorite event for bookmakers to book is the NFL draft, and we're like 2 weeks away. And they hate it. It's all hearsay. It's rumors. The market is volatile. It's constantly moving. Their job is to balance the budget where they have liability, and it's constantly getting shooken up because Adam Schefter goes on a podcast or reads a tweet somewhere, and next thing you know, someone has moved to the favorite from being like a big dog to go at a certain spot.
Yeah, bookmakers don't like booking on speculation and innuendo and gossip.
Which is like all my favorite things in the world.
Yeah, they don't like the NFL, but they have to offer the NFL draft because you have to give a menu. Now, you're going to limit players, but you have to give them a menu. They have
to offer the NFL draft because if we're going to do the biggest sporting events of the year. Obviously, the NCAA tournament's up there. I mean, the Super Bowl's up there. Parts of college football with the playoff are up there. The NFL draft is easily a top, 6, 7 event to bet on the sports calendar.
Yeah. I would get so annoyed talking about it, though. We're going to talk about it, but the betting, it's almost like broadcasting about betting on the draft is the same as booking it. It feels that way.
Oh, yeah. You also have to take a ton of risks early on big numbers and hope that you got it right and it moves in your favor, and then you come back the other way. It basically, if you really want to be a winning bettor in the NFL draft, you have to bet it when all the odds come out like 3 months ago. So unless you have a time machine, you're not getting a great number today.
Somich, our buddy Somich, sent over a ton of notes, so he's going to join us at the top of the hour. Stuart, Durst at the bottom. So let's mix in your calls here, finishing up the conversation on Florida, Houston. Let's go to, on VSiN Live, let's go to Washington, and we say hi to Kurt. Hi, Kurt.
Hey, fellas.
What's up?
Not too much. I just, of course, had Houston, had the under, had Houston, and watching the game. I've got to say, what people aren't paying attention to or talking about is this Roberts guy that even the announcers, they really want to go down to this guy. I'm like, his game is awful. Every shot he put up was a flail type of shot. I was like,
yes.
If this is their best guy to go down low into in this day and age, they don't have a better offensive. I'm 5'9", and I've got better post moves than that guy. So I felt like, as games ebb and flow, if you're going to play that kind of offense, especially when you had a 12-point lead, once things started to crack, I think that's when you need to start having that guy to go down to. And I'm thinking, how is this their guy? Anyway, that was a big one for me. Another point I was going to make, I didn't hear about Mattress Mac or whatever making his big bet on Houston. I'm wondering if you guys heard anything about on that, but poor guy, once again, can't get any love for Houston. And
no, I think he might be. I think he got in some bad health situation, so maybe he's been a little muted because of that. Yeah.
I heard Carl Johnson, who runs the sportsbook at the Beau Rivage. Normally, they take his bets, and I heard him do a spot this week on VSiN where he did mention that they didn't have a bet from Mac this year. I believe. I think that's what I heard.
Okay, interesting. Well, of course, I hope he's doing well, and of course, all good to him. The other thing I wanted to bring up, the Jokic thing and the MVP. Yes, absolutely. It just kills me. I'm with you, Patrick. The Embiid thing crushed me. I'm just like, this is just total BS. I'm totally with you on this, but I have to say there's a little bit of that Russell Westbrook scenario where he had that kind of stretch where we were all like, unbelievable. The numbers this guy's putting up, whatever, but on a nothing team, no one around him, just him kind of doing his thing. I know Jokic is more than that, but the team isn't doing as well, and they've really looked awful. I'm not just saying recently. I think you guys know they gave up some huge leads. They gave up like a 21-point lead early in the season where I was like, wow. And it was to I can't remember. It was to one of the worst teams in the league, and I'm just thinking, wow, these guys better get it together. And I know we've been saying it for most of the season, but it seemed that way early on as well. So
great call, Kurt. Good to hear from you. No, that's why I keep saying I don't have a problem with SGA winning it. Wins have to matter at some point, and his numbers are crazy too. Jokic is doing everything. I didn't realize. Did you all know that Russell Westbrook averaged a triple-double with Washington?
Yeah, no, who told us that?
I think it was Zach Harper.
I had no idea. One, I didn't realize he lasted a whole season in Washington. I thought that was like a couple months and he got bought out or something. I don't remember it being long enough for him to average a triple-double there.
That killed me. I was just like, all right, well, it's been devalued. Russell Westbrook certainly devalued the triple. For so long, we would talk about Oscar and averaging a triple-double. Then Russell came along, but the true shooting numbers from Jokic averaging this triple-double is what's crazy.
You just sparked this. Russell Westbrook devalued Russell Westbrook. How many teams has he been on this year in his career now? It's got to be like 6, right? Washington, Houston, obviously OKC,
Oklahoma City, Lakers, Washington, Denver, the Clippers.
The Clippers.
Am I missing anybody?
That's it. No, you got it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams. And here's the thing. All those teams got worse with him on it. And I love him. I am such a Russ guy, but like
I'm out on Russ.
He doesn't contribute to winning basketball.
No, I was a big Russ guy back in the day. I'm gonna take the L. He stinks.
No, it's as you say, empty calories. The stats. It's just filling up the stat sheet. But God, I mean, a couple weeks ago when he single-handedly lost that game in back-to-back possessions, rushing a shot, then fouling at the buzzer. Like that's the bad of Russ. There's a good with the effort, the energy, and what he brings and like scoring and rebounds and assists. But God, he just doesn't win. That's the problem.
No, exciting player, but I'm out. Loser.
Paired him with KD, paired him with John Wall, paired him with LeBron, paired him with Kawhi and PG, and then now with Jokic. And every team has gotten worse when he shows up.
Yep. Russell Westbrook with the
It's almost hard to do.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Good stuff from TG. Stuart Durst is going to join us next talking NBA props. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Attention, Mad Dog Sports Radio listeners. If you're new to VSiN, sign up for our free daily newsletter. It's a great way to catch up. Delivered straight to your inbox every morning. VSiN's newsletter offers picks, data, strategies for the day's betting menu. Sign up for free right now, vsin.com/newsletter, and start receiving your free newsletter tomorrow morning. That's vsin.com/newsletter. Stay ahead of the game and bet smarter with VSiN. I mean, I am grinding. I did that whole read while in between every word looking over at Toronto, the Maple Leafs, and the Florida Panthers. Now, I'm not bragging. That's just factual because your boy is grinding out this Toronto plus 150. The Florida Panthers, this is for you, Stuart, Durst, and you, Dustin Swedelson, because Hockey Patrick is in the effing building. And generally, if I'm being completely honest, he shows up when the postseason starts. This year, he got here early, people. And the Florida Panthers, who people like, they can't win. They can't win anything. They just got blanks last time they played when I faded them, and it's tied up at 1-1 with Toronto plus 150 in Florida. So that's for you, Dustin Swedelson.
Okay. Well, I'm curious, though. Toronto, I got nervous when you were saying you were on Toronto. I thought you meant for the Cup earlier in the show, and I was like, hold on. We're not going to back. I don't know that much about hockey, but I do know the one team you don't back to win the Cup is the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No, the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Come up short.
No, they can't win a Stanley Cup, but they hopefully can win in Florida tonight. And to talk about that and more, we bring in our good buddy Stuart Durst, betting analyst, Pass the Prop podcast host at Monotone Football on Twitter. Now, speaking of hockey, where you live in the DMV, it's been the epicenter because of Ovechkin breaking Gretzky's goal record. Was it a big story there? I'm guessing it was huge, no?
Oh, yeah. I mean, how could it not be, right? A record-breaking event like that. I mean, I get roasted a lot because I watch so much sports day in and day out, and I truly don't think I've ever watched more than 20 minutes of a hockey game before. I know that's kind of criminal. I was getting killed saying that after the Caps won the Stanley Cup, but that whole year I was watching the Nationals go 500. I was busy. I had my priorities. So it's not for me. I'm happy for everyone else that gets joy out of it, but I'm really not a hockey guy.
Okay, but a question, though, because Patrick and I were discussing this last week, and we both kind of have ties to DC. I lived there for 5 years. Patrick's been listening to a radio show there for
the
30 years.
You've heard of the Sports Junkies?
Yeah. He listens to Junkies every day for 30 years now. So we were trying to come up with, one, who's the greatest Washington, D.C. athlete of all time? And we think it's Alexander Ovechkin. But two, who's the Mount Rushmore? Who's the four? I think Ovechkin's easy. There's got to be someone from the Wizards/Bullets. How would you do, you're a little bit younger than us, how would you do your Washington, D.C. Mount Rushmore?
That's so funny because it's in my lifetime, it's so pathetic. The people I've cared so much about that have done so much for me, I'm putting John Wall on my list. You know what I mean? And he's never won anything. And it's one of those things that I grew up I'm 23, so I grew up in this age of losing on every single level in every sport. The only athletes from my young childhood that brought me joy were guys like Robert Griffin, and it was so short. It was I was a teenager. We got 2 good years, 1.5 seasons, and it was over. So it's a Ovechkin, and then such a big gap that it's almost unfair to even compare all these other guys. I mean, obviously.
Now you mentioned John Wall would have to in your lifetime, John Wall, who would be the Redskin/Commander? Can't even think of it.
Kirk Cousins?
Terry McLaurin?
It might be Terry McLaurin. It might, if he stays there his whole career, it might be Terry McLaurin. I'm trying to think.
I mean, it's going to be Jaden. It's going to be Jaden Daniels, but
yes,
I'm talking about in Stewart's era of. Oh, can you think of anybody?
A little before me, but Sean Taylor, is kind of
that's a good one.
The legend, so I think he has to go there. But even I only grew knowing of him, not watching him, so.
No, that's actually a great one.
He only played 4 seasons though.
Well, he got murdered.
I know he got murdered, but It's
not on him.
No, it certainly wasn't on him. Although some people at that time tried to pin it on him, and they look like idiots today. But my point is, it still can't put him on the Mount Rushmore. It's only 4 seasons, but I guess it's Joe Gibbs. You said that, Patrick. Joe Gibbs would be the Washington version.
Yeah, Wes Unseld, I guess you'd have to throw in there. It's remarkably slim pickings. Now, tonight, Stu, your Nats are pounding the Dodgers 8-1 in the top of the 7th. You came on here last week or a couple of weeks ago before the baseball season started and gave us James Wood over 17.5 home runs, who is the stud outfielder, the huge guy for the Nats. He's hit 2 tonight, and he's up to 4, and it's April 8th. My assumption is you're feeling pretty comfortable.
Yeah, I feel bad for whatever intern set that line, though. I don't know how good his job is looking right now. I mean, it was insane. I was telling you guys a little bit before we got on here, but he's 6'7". He's huge. He has a guaranteed starting role on a below average team. I mean, they're going to let this guy take as many, home run swings as he wants this year. So, yeah, I think that was more of an all-star break kind of line, and it's looking like he's going to cash it by then.
Well, they're probably offering you a cash out option at this point. It's the second week of the season. They're probably like, all right, cool. We'll give you 75% of this. That's absolutely absurd. Early takeaways from the baseball season so far. Patrick and I were talking before the show, and my big one was the NL West. Like, how do we make sense of this? One, I'm shocked that Arizona is where they are, right around 500, but Padres look awesome. We knew the Dodgers would be awesome. But how about the San Francisco Giants? What's your level of surprise with the offseason they had? Like a couple okay moves, but they look great early this year.
Yeah, and I mean, they're doing a lot of analytically savvy things. They go super deep into counts. So if you're betting pitcher outs or strikeouts, they make you work really hard, which is something. They take walks, which you're going to need to do when you don't have elite bats. My thing though is I just don't know how long it lasts. I've kind of been a fan of the Giants as a regular season team these last couple of years. Even they've had some ups, they've had some downs. They've never been the best team, but they've always been a pretty well-run team with a lot of high-end role players. They don't necessarily have star players, but they got a lot of serviceable guys. When you look at their bullpen games over the last couple of years versus the rest of the league, besides the Rays, they've probably been the best at that, at executing those games without a true starter. And I think you can get a lot of value on them in those type of games, even to this day right now, where the markets kind of disrespect bullpen games, but these guys are very good at it, and they've got good starting pitching depth. They've got good relievers to bring in. My issue is just how consistent can the hitting be, right? When we get to later in the year, Willie Adames, Ramos, these guys are solid, but I don't want them to be the best hitters in my lineup. And I think that's probably going to be the biggest struggle, especially when you're going head to head with the freaking Dodgers.
Yeah, the wagon that is the Dodgers. I'm happy you have this in your notes, Stu, because I used to COVID. I was really into UFC years and years ago. I was into UFC. I know you're a big UFC guy. There's a name that you gave us that I can't even believe he's still fighting. Hasn't Michael Chandler been around forever? Let's talk about the Chandler fight and then also the card this weekend. How is it?
Yeah, we got a great UFC card. I mean, this is an awesome week for sports. Obviously, Masters, we got, NBA, NHL, all that going on. But for me, I mean, when you look at this card, we got Volkanovski, another legend at the top of the card, headlining it, defending his title versus Diego Lopez, one of the most exciting up-and-comers in really, possible in MMA right now. And then Paddy Pimblett going against, like you said, Mike Chandler in the co-main event, the people's main event, some are saying. I mean, here's the thing. This is people are not going to love the Chandler bet. And you got to imagine how I'm feeling over here, because this is going to be my biggest UFC bet of the year. I'm pretty confident. I'm going to have a lot of trouble finding a number that I disagree with this much than Michael Chandler right now. And you just mentioned how long he's been fighting, and it feels like forever. He's probably on the way out. He's probably washed. I mean, when you look at the competition he was fighting, because he gets clowned a lot. He's not won a lot of these fights. He's gotten beat by the best in the world over the last 5 years, whether it was in Bellator, where he's the Bellator champ, then lost, came over to the UFC. He's fought every UFC Hall of Famer you can think possible. And the guy he's going up against, Paddy, right? His most notable win is Bobby Green. a guy that we just saw get immediately spinning head kick KO'd a couple weeks ago, has over 50 professional MMA fights. I mean, this is literally one of the biggest step ups in competition we've seen in a while, and it's going like not addressed at all because people don't like Michael Chandler. Like his personality, he's not very smart in the ring. He does like the slams against Charles Oliveira, if you saw last time, where he just kind of slammed him for fun. In round 5, it clearly didn't do anything. Like the guy gets nonstop hated by everything, but his body of work in his career is so substantially better than what Paddy's done over these last couple years. Paddy fights once a year, 3 rounders. They pick out the best fight for him possible. He gets to win in a comfy home crowd in London. Everybody high fives him, and then he waits a year and a half to fight again. This guy is fun. He's got a great personality. But to put him as like a minus 150, he even got up to minus 170 yesterday, favorite against a guy like Michael Chandler, who's paid his dues against the best of all time, is truly insane to me. And Paddy has a couple submissions on his record. That's what people think he's going to do. And the common argument I'm hearing is, well, look what Charles Oliveira just did to him. Michael Chandler just went 5 rounds with the best submission artist of all time, with him on his back the whole time, and did not get submitted. Not only did not get submitted, he won round 5 in that fight. I don't understand how Paddy's going to control him on the ground for 5 rounds and somehow find a sub that the best submission artist of all time couldn't. So I think there's a lot of things going for Chandler right here. I do not think he should be the underdog in this fight. And unfortunately, I'm going to have a ton of money resting on this guy this weekend.
So Chandler plus 124?
What is it, Dustin?
Chandler plus 124. That's our play here. I love this.
Yeah. Let's go. I have one word to say when it comes to Paddy Pembleton or whatever. Shtick. Like it's shtick. Like I'm sure he's a fine fighter. Like he had a fight recently in like some covert, training space with another dude. He's like a barstool guy. Like he does shtick.
No, he literally is.
No, is he?
He works for. Yeah. He's a barstool athlete. I think he's sponsored.
Oh, okay. Well, then that makes sense. Like he's literally he does have a really good personality. He's kind of opposite. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stu. He's kind of opposite of McGregor, where McGregor's like the bad boy and Paddy's like Mr. Positivity. I hope he gets freaking pounded by Chandler. Screw that kid.
It's possibly 2 of like the most controversial fighters like in the UFC. Like people don't like either of these 2 guys, but like you said, Paddy's really kind of upped his like image over these last couple of years as this like jolly guy. He's super fun. He's a scouser, he has this fun accent. But like you said, I think the shtick is just doing so much here. And UFC is one of those few markets that really, combat sports in general, boxing, they really do get influenced by this like public money coming in on the star power, on the guy, that whole country betting on the guy that they want to see. And there are a lot of fine, reasons to poke fun at Michael Chandler. He's done a lot of dumb stuff and he's gotten knocked out by a lot of people. But if you give me 5 rounds of Chandler on the feet against Paddy, I mean, it's going to be destruction. He's going to kill the guy. So I'm super excited.
This is the most conviction you've ever had on anything.
I'm into
it.
I'm going to be watching on Saturday. I'm into this card.
Like, Stu, when you get off the show, we always have a discussion like, man, his breakdowns are just so good. You have never once, and as long as we've been talking to you for about a year now, you've never come on once and had the conviction on a bet quite like you have on this Chandler play.
I've been waiting to talk about this for a month. Like when this fight got announced, I'm willing to lay like minus 160 on Chandler. And over the weeks, I just see that little money coming in. Paddy's more of a favorite. Paddy's more. And I'm like, who's making these bets? I don't understand. Unless it's just pure fandom. Like you said, you like Barstool, you like the Instagram clips. I get that. But these guys are just on different levels. And yeah, I've been really waiting to talk about this fight. I don't publicly give out too much UFC because it is a bit of a tougher market. But this is the farthest off I've been on a line in a while. So I was ready to go.
I'm into it. I'm going to be watching on Saturday. And another, you actually really tremendous for bettors of boxing and UFC. Remember, it's not always about the talent. You're betting personalities. And the public loves to bet personalities, and that goes like for boxing. Yeah. It's like just this concept of I like this guy. He sells. Like remember, fighters also sell themselves. So oftentimes the market can be won over by somebody just talking crazy trash. You got me fired up. I'm into it. And I'm getting a plus price on Chandler. The beat that ass. All right, let's go. Is this one tonight? Stephon Castle over the rebounds and assists? It's tipping off later?
Yeah, we got a late game start. Stephon Castle. I got over 11.5 rebounds and assists. Castle's one of my favorite prospects coming out. And it's at that point in the year, right, where NBA player props are brutal. I see a lot of people hating on him. Once again, I love this time of year. If you're betting on a guy over 25 years old on a bad team, that's your own fault. Those guys either are playing for their career, they're a 25-year-old journeyman wing, it's your first opportunity, or we're giving minutes to the young guys. You're giving it to the rookies. And Castle, I mean, he said he's got rookie of the year locked up. I'm not sure if I necessarily believe him on that one right there, but he's been putting up rookie of the year numbers over this last month. He's averaging 26.5 rebound and assist opportunities over the last 2 weeks. That means he has to convert at less than a 50% rate. He can be inefficient. His team can be inefficient, but because he's passing so much, because there's so many rebound opportunities, he's still been easily going over his 11.5 rebounds and assist number. He almost had a triple-double a couple games ago. He talked about how he really wanted to get one in. It's like 50-1. I did toss a couple bucks on triple-double just because I didn't want to miss it. And if he's going to keep passing at the level he is right now, then I'm going to keep backing it. The most important thing about rebounds and assist props for me are you need upside in both categories, in the rebounding and the assisting. Castle is one of the few guys that does have that, and he's going to play like 35 minutes tonight. So if he's going to keep playing 35 minutes, I'm going to keep backing Castle over 11.5 rebounds and assists, and then a couple bucks on the triple-double.
All right, Rushman as well. One run scored plus 120, one plus D-backs. I think that's tomorrow, correct, Stu?
Tonight.
No, we got another.
Oh, that's tonight against Arizona, in Arizona. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, good job. We were sorry. We got backed up a little bit, but that UFC breakdown's as good as it gets. I am going to be dialed in this weekend because of your breakdown. He is Stuart Durst, betting analyst, Pass the Prop podcast, and Monotone Football. Thanks, Stu. We'll talk to you next week.
Looking forward to it. Let's go, Michael Chandler, Mr. America, baby.
That's about as fired up as I've seen, Stu. I will say that. That's a tremendous job by him. We'll come back, take your calls. Somich at the top of the hour. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Welcome back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Somehow he's infiltrated the show. I come back from a break once a show about Jacob the Freak, the producer back in New York City. He's double dipping tomorrow. He's got 2 dates, an hour and a half apart from one another. He's got a theory. Okay, let's do this. We got Somich coming up. Somich's got the tan. I think he's moving to Costa Rica. He's feeling good about himself. Before we do that, let's say hi to Bill. Bill and Chevy Chase. So, Bill, we've been asking this question. You're the perfect person to answer it. The DMV Mount Rushmore. What is it?
Yeah. Okay, here's what I would say. I agree, Ovechkin for sure, and he may be the greatest athlete in Washington sports history. The next one I would go to, the basketball player, and again, I'll assume you're going to have one from each sport. That's the toughest one, but it would be Wes Unseld in my view.
That's who I thought.
The quarterback would, without question, be Sammy Baugh. I mean, he's an old timer, but that's who it would be.
Did you enjoy watching him, Bill? Did you enjoy?
No, I didn't. He's even before my time, guys. But go, as Mad Dog would say, look him up. You'll be impressed. And then the baseball player. The baseball player would be interesting for this reason. The major leaguer would, without question, be Walter Johnson. But today, you'd get a big fight on your hands, especially in nice, woke Washington, for people who would be advocating for Josh Gibson, who did play for the Homestead Grays in Washington in the Negro Leagues. But that would be your Mount Rushmore. I would go with Johnson. I would go with Johnson over Gibson for the simple reason that I have never viewed the Negro Leagues as major leagues, which is not to say there weren't plenty of players who could have played in the Negro in the major leagues.
Yeah.
But the Negro Leagues themselves were not sufficiently organized. They were not sufficiently stable to be considered major leagues. So I would go with Johnson, but there'd be people's heads would be exploding over Josh Gibson. So that's my take on that.
No, that's a great take. Now, you mentioned woke. We don't do politics on the show, but you are in the DMV. Could you do me a favor? Could you stop by and let your boy know to chill on these tariffs? Because it's killing my bank account, Bill.
Tell me about it. It's the reason, guys. The reason I don't gamble is because of what I live through in the stock market every day. The last thing
that is gambling, Bill. That is gambling, as you know.
I know that, but with let's just say with what I do in the stock market, the idea of even putting another $100 on some sporting event, the last thing I need.
It's a good job by our buddy Bill. Hey, let me just say something very clearly. These tariffs have no chill.
Yeah, I just want to point. It makes me a little uncomfortable that
I got Thomas to laugh. I win.
Speaking of DC, it makes me a little uncomfortable that we had to call them the Washington Commanders because the old name was offensive, but we're still allowed to call it the Negro Leagues.
It's a bit of a conundrum.
It feels like a bit of an issue. I don't know. I don't think that word's supposed to come out of my mouth.
Well, no, but I mean, Bill didn't say anything incorrectly. That's still what we do. We call it the Negro League.
Yeah, no, that's what he didn't do it. It makes me a little uncomfortable that we went Commanders, which I agree with, by the way. I agree with that, and that maybe that's a political statement that people won't like. But the fact that we still call that league, that feels like an issue.
Hold on, Tony, I just have a minute, but I want to get you in so we're going to Somich. Do you want to give your answer?
Yeah, how do we not have from Meadow Farm, Virginia, how do we not have Secretariat on the list as one of the greatest athletes in the DMV?
Tony, you win, and you just played to Somich's heart as well. Secretariat. Well, we could talk about it next. And I just got hit with a freaking dagger. I'm on the Maple Leafs, and the Panthers, who haven't scored in 12 straight games, just took the lead 2-1, 16-40 to play in the third. But we're not done. I wish it was a 2-goal lead because the least safe lead in all of sports is a 2-goal lead in hockey. All puckheads know it. Somich is going to join us next. When you got a tan, what do? You wear white. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. We back.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, Somich is going to join, of course, Professional Bettor, the handle on weekends on VSiN. VSiN host. Also, VSiN at the Track, the road to the Kentucky Derby. What up? Nailed it. On YouTube Live. We're streaming VSiN Live on YouTube, and it airs 2:15 East on Fridays, 11:15 East West on Fridays. Thank you. You can go to vsin.com/subscribe right now, $19 through August 1st. It's a great deal. Somich joins. A couple of things. At some point, we have to talk about Halterman because he was downright annoyingly angry in the group today. We'll talk about soy sauce coming up in just a bit. But would you like to react to what Tony said about Secretariat and maybe
Cubs
bring
scored.
some Cubs scored. Good job, Samo. Maybe bring some context as a horse racing aficionado to the dominance of Secretariat.
I mean, he was incredible. You have Secretariat records that still stand today. Fastest Belmont, his Triple Crown was absolutely dominated. Captivated America back when he was running in the early 70s. I agree. Because you are so sports deprived in the DNC, you kind of have to put Secretariat on the list, who was born right around there. One question for you guys. What about someone from that 2019 Washington Nationals team? Like Strasburg, who, yes, his career was shortened. Like he brought a championship to DC. Soto actually had 4 bombs, I believe it was, in the World Series, 3 or 4 home runs. He's another one where I know it kind of went south because he left, but at the same time, how many titles has DC had anyway? Like, shouldn't there be someone from that title team on this?
It would have been Bryce Harper if he stuck around. It would have been
Yeah.
Trey Turner. It would have been Soto. It would have been Strasburg if he didn't get injured. They got Scherzer was there. All the Rendon, everybody, they just it's incredible what happened after that title.
They won a World Series, and 2 years later, they're like, you know what? Let's tear it down and start over, like with the Miami Marlins. And they're not. They're in a major market. They actually have a pretty solid fan base, despite not being there that long. I actually agree with Bill and Chevy Chase, who called in and said Walter Johnson's like one of the 5 greatest pitchers of all time. The problem is he pitched in like 1914, so no one saw him pitch. So according to the stats, he probably threw like 500 innings in a year because that's what they did back then. So that's why his numbers look the way they do. It's tough with that Nats team. There just isn't someone. Like, we have to go to the coaches. We have to go to the managers if we're going to really get our Mount Rushmore for DC. Like Joe Gibbs has to be on the list. Joe Gibbs represents Washington, the Commanders.
Yeah, the Joe it's a really weird town, as far as being the nation's capital. I'm watching Toronto and Florida. We're gonna have a family bet with Colorado coming up here in just a little bit. We've got a couple going on. VGK Colorado is a lit matchup tonight on the ice. I took Toronto. You know, the Panthers. Our Panthers have been struggling lately here, Samo.
Yeah, they've lost 5 straight. Not a great time to lose 5 straight when you're heading into the playoffs. I still think they're frisky when we get there. They're supposed to get a couple guys back from injury in the first round, which obviously is a positive. However, you'd like to have a little more momentum when you're heading into the playoffs. But the Eastern Conference this year, absolutely wide open, because I hate some of these teams at the top in the East. I think that allows you, if you're looking to find someone to get out of that specific half of the bracket, the Eastern Conference, I think, is a very interesting one from a price perspective.
How about the Ovi stuff over the weekend? I know you and Matt Brown were on the air with Ready, Set, Bet when it went down. That thing was minus 120 for him to score a goal against the Islanders. Obviously, it became a very popular play. Just as a hockey fan, watching him break that record, what'd it mean?
Yeah, crazy. It was minus 120. It got steamed to even money because of the money that came in at Circa on the no, thinking that he would not score on the road. He was able to get it done. Look, as a hockey guy, it's hard to put in context if you don't like hockey what level this record is, right? It is essentially like the home run record being broken in a single season. No one thought it would ever happen, right? This was one of those Mount Rushmore records, if you will. This is like Ripken's longest game streak. Ovechkin's played for 20 years in the NHL. He scored 50 goals 12 times. Only twice has he scored less than 30. And he just broke the record. Like, that's how hard it is. And then you take into account that when Gretzky played, there wasn't the butterfly style of goaltending yet. There were 7-5, 6-5, 7-6 matchups left, right, and center. Ovi played through the defensive era in the NHL where 2-1 was a common score in games, yet he's still able to break the record in the exact amount of great games that Gretzky has played. The record that will never be broken is Gretzky's assist record, right? He literally doubled up, second in assists right now in the NHL. But the fact this goal record went down is mind-blowing. I never thought we would see anyone break Wayne Gretzky's goal record. And Ovechkin, with the longevity and be able to put up 40-plus goals at 41 years old is just, it's phenomenal. It's just, you have to just stand up and applaud for the guy because he's just a pure goal scorer, and he is still doing it very, very well. Like high level, we're talking about one of the best 3-4 goal scorers in the NHL right now at 41, something we haven't seen in very many sports.
Yeah, my favorite thing over my doing this for so long is if you ever just get caught, do the Gretzky shtick. And what I mean by that is bring up his records, and you'll realize across any sport he is the secretariat of human beings, because across any sport there isn't a chasm between what he's done and what the next player has done. And it's really not close. Like Gretzky scored 50 goals in 39 games.
But here's the crazy thing,
people.
He could have scored more if he wanted to. He just chose to be an unselfish player and set everyone up with beautiful setups for goals all the time. He could have scored more goals.
If you think about it, there is no debate about who the GOAT of hockey is, and there probably never will be. Moving forward, there will be one GOAT in the NHL forever. In basketball, we argue this all the time. Jordan, LeBron, the next guy, Kobe, whoever it is, right? In baseball, you can go a bunch of different directions. In football, you've got Brady, you've got Mahomes. Will he be the next one? There will never be a conversation about who is the GOAT in the NHL ever again. It is Gretzky. It is in Penn. Just move along.
Yeah, I totally agree. And by the way, there is no debate that Wayno, the great one, is wearing a rug because that hair is outrageous. I don't know if you guys can see. It's pretty wild. My man's been in the sun too, but he is a legend. I'm just saying.
It's a tough move. I look, as someone who's balding, I'm sensitive to it these days, but I would just shave it all off before I ever bought hair to put on my head. I know that's like a self-conscious thing, and I have other things I'm definitely self-conscious about. But to me, everyone can. Carl Ravitch, we see the wig.
Oh, you're just taking bombs, contemporaries here, big guy. Smorgasbord, and then we'll dial in. The road to the Kentucky Derby, I mentioned it every Friday, and then at 8:30, I believe, on VSiN proper on Saturday mornings.
Well, also available on YouTube after it's done. You can watch it on YouTube. I'm not disrespecting anything on VSiN. To me, it's the best thing we've got going. It's just incredible, and I give props to old soy sauce and Somich. We'll get to the soy sauce. The Bluegrass was run today, and as I text you, it just hits different when there's a huge stakes race during the week because of the inclement weather over the weekend. And it just let me know, because I was texting with Cohen, our boss, and we were like, oh, this is a pretty cool field and really good horses. It just kind of builds to what is going to be, I think, a great Kentucky Derby, because that was a really good field today.
Yeah, phenomenal. I'm not going to say phenomenal field, but very interesting field with some very good horses. You had 5 graded stakes on the Keeneland card today. It was supposed to be on Saturday, rained off the full card on both Friday and Saturday, so they moved them to Monday and Tuesday. Phenomenal job by Keeneland by saying, hey, we're just going to adjust. We'll let everyone in free programs. Everything at the track is discounted. Come enjoy the races on a Tuesday and allow the horses to run on turf and to run over a fast track versus this sloppy mess that they were expecting on Saturday. The race itself, I thought, was really interesting because one of the things I talk about all the time when you're looking at the Kentucky Derby, it's a lot like conferences heading into the NCAA tournament. You've got different conferences, one in Florida, one in Arkansas, one in Louisiana, one in New York, one in California. And there are certain races when they commingle. And we saw that twice this weekend. The first one was the California commingle in New York, where Rodriguez ships from California, goes to New York, and dominates the wood. Tells you that the California group is better than the New York group. Well, we saw the Florida group show off a little and stunt out here with Burnham Square, who won the Fountain of Youth, able to beat East Avenue, who was on the Louisiana circuit. Didn't run his best race, so I think this was a little bit more of who he is. But we saw Burnham Square win, and we saw the third-place finisher, River Thames, who Sovereignty beat in the previous race down there in Florida, run third in this race as well. So the Florida circuit does a very good job, specifically Gulfstream Park, so the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby, of really flattering themselves when we're heading in here to the Kentucky Derby. And I think that says a lot for horses like Tappan Street and like Sovereignty.
And then journalism, can we just, for people that are just getting into the Kentucky Derby trail, journalism wins the Santa Anita Derby. Did you take anything away from the performance of the horse?
He's awesome. He feels like one of those horses that could win a Triple Crown. He is that good. He was that dominant for a second straight race, first off the bench in the San Felipe, able to run down Barnes, who was on a loose lead. This race, he just embarrasses that field. Bays ends up running second, who is a horse that unfortunately may not make the Kentucky Derby because of the point situation and the number of horses that were in the Santa Anita Derby. But Beza would be 12-1, somewhere in that range in the Derby if he was allowed in at this point. There are not enough superlatives you can say about journalism and what he looks like heading into the Kentucky Derby. He's going to be your favorite on the first Saturday in May. He's going to be the horse that every sportsbook picks up. Will he or will he not win the Triple Crown? You're going to get a number on him. That is how good he has been in 2 starts so far this year. And I mentioned Rodriguez. Look, Rodriguez is the main horse that is shipped out of California and run elsewhere. He dominated the Wood. He lost by 12 lengths to journalism. That tells you the gap that we are seeing between the California circuit and the New York circuit. I can't wait to see journalism run the first Saturday in May. He's got the style that projects that he is going to be able to run very well in that race. He's got some tactical speed. He'll sit mid-pack, be able to make a big run. He'll have the long stretch in Kentucky, be able to really get his wheels going. It's going to be a very, very fun Kentucky Derby. Feels like one where you're probably putting journalism on top and then finding some prices underneath to try and fill out your trifecta and superfecta to try and hit a big ticket.
Yeah, I'm curious, what do you think the price will be on journalism? Because you're hyping him up. Patrick's been hyping him up. Halterman is. Jeremy Plonk on Friday. Everyone thinks this horse could potentially be really special. Like, what do you think the price is going to be 25 days from now at the Derby?
Well, here's the beauty of the Kentucky Derby. Justify went off at 5-2. So you're going to still get a decent price, or plus 250 for sports bettors, right? Justify went off at plus 250 in the Kentucky Derby. I don't think journalism is as hyped as Justify is. So I think 3-1 is a realistic number that you could get on journalism the first Saturday in May, because it is a 20-horse field. Things go crazy. And one of the beauties of the Kentucky Derby as well, there's almost favorite protection in a lot of ways, because we saw a horse like Rich Strike win as the longest shot on the board, because we saw, Mage win at 15-1. Last year, Mystic Dan at 21-1. The people who drop in love to bet long shots. They love to bet that 20-1 shot, 40-1 shot, 30-1 shot. And what that does is those $2, $5, $10, $20, $100, it adds up, and it doesn't allow the favorite to get bet down to 9-5, 8-5, 7-5, because when a recreational bettor sees that in a 20-horse field, they're going to pass 9 times out of 10.
Well, the moral of the story, then we'll move on from horse racing. The moral of the story is, as Dustin said, 25 days away from the Kentucky Derby. If you're at work and you want to impress people, remember the name journalism, and that will be the story come Kentucky Derby Saturday, it's just the best. Mike Somich joining us, part of the family, of course. I'm watching Toronto and Florida. They still trail 2-1, 7-10 to go there. Let's talk about a game that's coming up later, which is, 2 of the best teams in hockey, full stop. The Golden Knights are at the Avs. What's the breakdown? I think we're going to go the Avs in regulation, but what's your thoughts on these 2 teams?
They're both phenomenal. Both of these teams, I think, have a chance at winning the Stanley Cup. We've talked about both of them when they were sitting there at the plus 1,200, plus 1,400 number on this show before. They're both under 10-1 at this point now. These are just complete lineups that have dynamic offenses and very good goaltending because of the Mackenzie Blackwood acquisition that we saw Colorado go out and make well before the trade deadline, and kind of really just make them a very complete team versus having a very good team who needs a goalie to step up in the playoffs. This is going to be a battle tonight. You're going to see both of the best efforts from these 2 teams. They both want to really play well heading into the playoffs. We saw Colorado on a 3-game road trip go 2-1. Their only loss to the Blues in a game where they came back from being down 4-0 to end up losing 5-4. This is a spot where Colorado needs this game more than Vegas does. Vegas kind of locked into the number 1 seed in their specific division, but locked into the 2 overall. They can't really catch Dallas. They can't really catch anybody in their own division. Colorado, on the other hand, has an opportunity to try and move up in the playoff standings here as we close out the season. The loss in St. Louis and returning home after a 3-game road trip. This is the 3rd game in a row on the road for the Golden Knights. All leads me to like Colorado in this spot. I'll take them in regulation. You can get plus 105, plus 110, depending on where you're shopping. So that's a 60-minute line versus the game plus overtime. where you can get them at that number. If you want to get a little more crazy, I don't mind laying the goal and a half at plus 170 either. This is one of the best empty net teams in the NHL in Colorado. They've got dynamic offensive players who close out games for them defensively. That means they love scoring empty net goals. So I don't mind the minus 1.5 plus 170 if you want a bigger number.
I'm curious, have we officially adopted your St. Louis Blues as the team of the show? Have they become our team yet? Have we officially planted our flag? We're all in on St. Louis?
Well, tell them what you told me, Somich. It could be very interesting with a little Vegas angle here.
It could get very, very interesting very quickly. I would like the Blues more if they would stop winning a little bit, which is crazy to say, but I don't want to play
still
Vegas.
40-1.
I don't want to. They were 150-1 when we started talking about them on the show. We got them at plus 270 to make the playoffs. Now they're down to 40-1 after winning 12 straight. They lost to Winnipeg finally in their 13th game there. This is a Blues team where there's two wild cards in the NHL. You have the three teams from each division make the playoffs, and the best 2 points recorders of the rest of the conference. Well, the number one wild card, they face the division winner with the less points. Right now, that's Las Vegas. I have no interest in playing Las Vegas if I'm the Blues. If we were getting Winnipeg, bring it on, baby. I know Colin Hellebuyck, who's going to win the Vezina Trophy for the best goalie in the NHL, is there. He struggled during the playoffs, and the Blues have played Winnipeg pretty well. Vegas's offense scares me from a St. Louis perspective because one of the reasons the Blues have been so good is how they've been able to shut teams down. I don't like this matchup against Vegas as much as I do against Winnipeg, except for the fact I'll probably get to go to one or two of these games if we do play Vegas here. So that would be the one upside. But at 40-1, they're a team I'm going to pass on. I've got a Colorado ticket in at 14-1. They'd still be someone I'm interested in if you can get 10-1, somewhere in that range. I do like some teams to win the Eastern Conference. Again, I think that is the weaker of the two conferences. If you want to avoid Florida, who last time I looked was around 3-1 is the favorite to win the East. I actually think that the other team that's awfully live here are the Carolina Hurricanes right now, who are the fourth choice in the Eastern Conference at plus 500.
But the bottom line is we need a team for the boys in the group, the family bets on Discord, the chat. We need a team, and it's going to be Jorn Halterman's team. It's going to be the St. Louis Blues because what'd they win, 12 in a row?
12 straight. It's a plucky young team, man.
What changed? I need to know what changed. If you're gonna, I'm almost there. I'm 95% of the way there with you guys. But
are you ready
changed?
for this?
Why did they just figure it out?
You want to know what changed? This is incredible. This is one of the best things you're going to hear. So we switched coaches early in the season, and we switched to Jim Montgomery, who was the Bruins coach, who was awesome. Very good defensive, stylistically coach, lets his offensive players play free. The Blues are very young. We've seen their younger players really flourish through the season with him in there. But even better, the younger players, they love Major League. We've got Jobu in the locker room. I'm not even kidding. Jobu from Major League has his own locker in the St. Louis Blues locker room, and since they put him in there, they have gone 18-3-2. The Jobu mojo is what is helping the St. Louis Blues right now.
We're adopting a team doing shtick.
Oh, no.
Hey,
when they won the cup,
Rally Monkey, it works all the time.
When they won the cup, they went out to karaoke in Philadelphia and sang Gloria together, and it became the team song, and they played it after every win. And that was the rallying point in St. Louis. It was shtick. It was all shtick, but it's good vibes, Patrick, and I know how much you like good vibes.
Hold on. Says the guy whose hockey team, the fans sneak octopuses into the arena to throw on the rink. Hates shtick.
Greatest tradition in the history of sports. So
what do octopuses have to do with Detroit?
It's pretty funny you're clubbing it. What'd you say?
What do octopuses have to do with Detroit?
I don't know, but if you guys take a step back and really think about it, we're throwing octopi on ice. That is incredible as a tradition. But I think we would all agree the most shticky athletes on the planet are a bunch of freaking weird Canadians that play hockey. There's never been a team that's made a run to the Stanley Cup that didn't have some sort of shtick going on in the locker room.
Yeah. I mean, and they're also the last group I'm going to tell them that their shtick is stupid.
I love that. Like, we back to Ovechkin real quick here. You have Gretzky with that whatever it was on his hair. Ovechkin completely going gray, got a weird patchy beard, missing 2 teeth in all of the photos where he becomes the goal scoring record leader.
Oh no, Ovechkin is the most alpha. Literally, he'll in the offseason there'll be pictures of him with a big paunch, like in slippers, walking around. He just doesn't care. I love Ovechkin.
Somich, you're the sharpest guy we know. We're setting a fight right now. Ovechkin versus a bear. Ovechkin's favored,
Don't
right?
do the
Ovechkin's
Barstool
favored,
stuff.
minus
Oh,
200.
He's doing Barstool, people.
Well, it depends how big the bear is. But yeah, I mean, generally, it's like you pull a bear out of a hat. Yeah, we'll give Ovechkin minus 200. I saw Ovechkin, so Svechnikov, who plays for the Carolina Hurricanes when I was living in Raleigh. I went to a playoff game. Carolina down 0-2 in the series. We're there at game 3. And Svechnikov decides he wants to fight Ovechkin because it's his countryman. It's the guy he looked up to. He wants that moment after Ovechkin hit one of his teammates. Ovi knocked him cold in one punch, out for the rest of the series.
Yeah, and he doesn't fight a lot, but he's one of the best checkers. Like literally, he's one of the better checkers in the history of the game. He's constantly in the mix. Yeah, Jacob, and just to follow up on the Octopus, the 8 wins, the 8 legs, the 8 whatever they call them, the 8 wins needed to win the cup. That's why they started tossing them. And then I can't remember our guy's name, but the person that drives the Zamboni. He was the one responsible for going and collecting the octopus, and he would just take it and he would wind it around his head to get the crowd fired up. It's just tremendous.
How many bouncers do you think realized the dude had an octopus on him when he was going through the door, right? Because, you go into an arena now, they're like, take your keys out. You got to walk through the metal detector, put your phone in the... Do you think people put the octopus through the metal detector, or do you think it's in their back pocket? How do they even
I
get
think it's a little something like look the other way if you're a person letting people in.
It's like concert security, right?
Another weird thing about hockey is when somebody gets a hat trick and we just throw your hats. Hats are expensive.
Oh, yeah. It's just gone forever? You just never get your hat back? There should be a place where you go and collect your hat.
You should be able to
Who's making out with all my hats? Do you donate them to Goodwill, or is some dude just cleaning up, getting free hats every time there's 3 goals scored in a game?
It's tremendous shtick. I can't wait for the playoffs. We were kind of after the game last night. I don't know what you thought, Somich, with a cover by Florida, barely by a half a point, easy under. I've been doing the same shtick all day. Even up 12, I never felt like Houston was going to win the game, and I was on Houston. What was your main takeaway from that game last night?
I'm just bummed that I can't bet Florida once they get down in the first half in the tournament anymore. I mean, that was like an ATM machine where you're catching +6, +7 with them in these games, and the run is coming, and eventually it does show up. I actually thought Houston had a better chance than some of the games we saw previously. It looked like they were always going to come back against Auburn, right? And I thought Houston had a chance to be able to really shut them down defensively. And it's funny, it felt like Houston kind of tightened up. And the way the game was called, too, I think made a massive difference. The first half, very few fouls. The second half, it felt like it got a little ticky-tack there at some points. That was advantage Florida. And I think that made a difference to the way Houston was able to defend. And that helped Florida make the run that they were able to make late in that game.
Do you believe, as someone who loves betting, who loves college hoops, do you believe that what we got in the Final Four, we're able to now declare it a successful, good tournament? Because we didn't get a lot of upsets early. There was no Cinderella. There was no crazy runs. When you look back on this NCAA tournament, because of what we got late, would you say it was a success?
It was a heck of a lot better than the last 2 years, right? I mean, UConn winning by 10 every single game. I would much rather have this from a storyline perspective. 4 number 1 seeds, 2 from the best conference, the best player in college basketball. Houston trying to make up for the last couple years that we saw them. Houston, by the way, massive recruiting class coming in, and they might keep a couple people as well. They're a team you're going to have to hear quite a bit about next year as well. I think it was a success. Look, Cinderellas are fun, for 2 rounds. And then I really have no interest in seeing a team laying 9.5, 10.5, 11.5 in the Final Four. Like, let's let the Blue Bloods have their moments, and let's the Cinderellas have their moments. Let's keep those 12 seeds, 13 seeds. I love the early upsets. I enjoy it when they make the second weekend. It's not that much fun when they make the Final Four.
Mike Somich joining us here. Of course, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Empty net for the Maple Leafs. This team's going to be dead to me if they don't beat this Florida. Yeah, they're dead.
Well, it's a good time for Toronto to be dead to you, just going into the playoffs.
Well, yeah, they can't win a Stanley Cup. Let's transition to baseball. My Tigers today, Skubal was in Fuego against the Yankees, 5-0 win. He blanked them through 6, 4 hits. That's Skubal. That's what he does. He had a rough start to the year. The Tigers have won 5 straight. It's a terrible division, but they're going to win that division. Dustin likes my Tigers as well. Baseball-wise, empty netter for Florida. Go screw yourself. Baseball-wise, I know you wanted to talk San Diego. Anything else? 11 games in, standing out, big picture?
I would, if you don't have one, I'd bet the Red Sox to win the division right now in the AL East. If you don't have a ticket in your account already, I'm not sure what the price is right now. I got them over the summer plus 550, rebet them at plus 375. I think they're the best team in that division. I like the Yankees to miss the playoffs after that hot start. We're kind of seeing the problems this Yankees team has. Their lineup is not that deep, and their pitching rotation not that wonderful. So I like fading the Yankees right now. We've kind of seen that to come into fruition. I want to like get on here and advocate for the Braves, but I'm starting to get a little worried. They have the talent, but they're injured again. You're waiting to get a couple people back from injury. We'll see if that makes a difference. Strider's supposed to be pretty close. Acuna's supposed to be about 2 weeks, a month away. Like at 1-8, it's hard to say, okay, looking for him in the division, but the price is getting to the point where I'm kind of like, maybe I'll drop a little on the division there.
No, I'm with you. I'm waiting for a little bit bigger of a dip with the Braves because this is a team talent-wise when they're back to 100%. They could go on a 20-5 run and all of a sudden be leading the division just like that in 1 month. Positive tonight and a negative. Positive, they scored 5 runs and Zach Wheeler was on the bump for Philly. Negative is Chris Sale allowed 5 runs, and with the way they're injured in their rotation, that is not something they can afford for the Cy Young Award winner. Although Chris Sale has not looked sharp to start, it looks like he may be out of the mix for NL Cy Young. I've got Hunter Green. I've got Michael King. I might start adding more. Have you done anything with any of the awards markets so far this year?
I have not. I don't like betting awards markets in baseball. They're just, the markets just for me are too elongated. I'll usually get in some of them in like July when I feel like I have a little bit better idea. I feel like I'm throwing darts in baseball award markets. And so unless there's a dart that I like at 80 to 100 to 1, and I did not have any of those this year, it's really hard for me to get excited about the awards markets inside baseball because it feels like, you see such massive adjustments. And a lot of people say, well, that means there's edges to be had there. I don't follow it enough early from a full season long perspective to be really excited about any of these guys.
Let's do this. Let's take a break. Then we'll come back with Somich. He's got some stats on that bandbox in West Sacramento with the A's playing, obviously, in Sacramento, and the Padres. That division is wild. We should discuss that as well. Mike Somich, VSiN host, professional bettor. Also, VSiN at the Track, the road to the Kentucky Derby on VSiN Live. You can go watch the old segments, of course, the old shows, and a new one coming up this Friday, just a couple of days away, 2:15 Eastern Time, 11:15 West. We're back. Somich, VSiN Live.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Sweat your bets with VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Yes, the boys were buzzing. Goulet got in the mix as well, talking about a casino or a book in Las Vegas. Here's the secret, because everybody perceives Las Vegas. You watch Casino and Pesci's running around making moves. You think Casino is like, or Las Vegas is a big-time city. Las Vegas, when it comes to sports betting, it's literally worse than Costa Rica. Like, it's soft. They don't offer anything. They got 80-year-old dudes running books, telling stories about back in the day. Nobody cares, bro. Throw up some props and raise your limits, asshole.
I'm betting in 1983 out here. Like, they won't take bets. They don't have markets up that other people have up. They shut them down overnight. There's no bonuses. People listening right now there are people in New York who never bet their own money because there's so many bonuses offered to them. These places wouldn't give you anything for free. It's an issue.
I had to go to New York for a family thing for a weekend during the conference tournaments in college basketball. So I had a Caesars app, right, which I used, and I have zero promotions to use the Caesars app when I'm in Vegas. I was in New York, and it was insane. 50% bonus, 30% bonus, free bet. It's like, I'm like, where is all that? Why isn't this normal? I want this more often.
It's the biggest misnomer ever that's like the place to go sports bet. Las Vegas is certainly not that. So, but anyway, great town. We've got Somich obviously part of the family, Halterman part of the family, but we do have to discuss what happened today in the group chat. So he must have got killed in the bluegrass because I was asking questions about the horses, and he was salty. So salty that Somich dubbed him soy sauce. So now it's soy sauce Halty moving forward because everybody believes that Aaron Halterman is the nicest guy ever. There's a little edge to him. There's a little bite to him when things don't go his way. And today, he was soy sauce.
Well, I mean, speaking of betting, though, real quick, I mean, that's when that comes out, is when the bets aren't hitting. That's usually when people become the most testy, right, Mike?
Yeah, it is. And, that race specifically triggered him even a little bit, was coming out of Tampa. I told him that's crazy over there. I picked a 20-1 shot that ran 4, so I didn't pick the winner either. But I was talking about how Gulfstream is significantly better than the Tampa Bay circuit. You chuck the 4, you chuck the 6 in today's race, the 2 Tampa horses, and the try pays 170-1 with the 3 other logical horses, including 2 from Gulfstream Park. He was just salty because Owen Almighty didn't run very well, and John Hancock, who beat Owen Almighty 2 back, didn't run very well. And so he was just pouring a little more MSG there on the meal, just kind of salting it up, man. We actually could call him Salty Halty, which completely rhymes. That'd be a nice little tagline as well.
Yeah, Somich said he's saltier than soy sauce, so he's Salty Halty, soy sauce Halterman. Listen, we'll talk to him tomorrow. Hopefully he's settled down. But I am a novice compared to Halterman and Somich when it comes to horse racing. And I know that the Tampa Bay circuit stinks. So how does he not know that? Well, he's built a career off of it.
I will say this, as someone who talks about horse racing a lot, right? Especially in the public forum, there is nothing more that you hate than having to pick the winner of a race that you don't like at all, right? Today's card at Keeneland, 11 races. You've got 5 stakes races. But you have to talk about the bluegrass, right? And I can tell you, Aaron did not like any of the horses in the bluegrass, right? But the bluegrass is the one you have to talk about. And as someone who talks about horses a lot, one of the most frustrating things can be when you don't like a race, you don't really love anyone. And he mentioned this on the show. He didn't love anyone in the race, but you have to make a pick, and then your pick is awful. You get really upset if you have to even talk about that race, let alone the pick running up the track.
That does make sense. Maybe I'll cut him some slack. John Ewing just tweeted that the Cavs were 17-1 to be, so they just clinched the 1 seed. Basketball wise, we've got Luka returning to Dallas tomorrow. The Lakers are in OKC tonight, so it will be a back-to-back, but that's going to be electric there tomorrow. Let's get back to baseball with Somich, because you've been digging into the numbers as far as that A's stadium and the Padres who are on a heater. You want to talk about Pods A's?
I do want to talk about Pods A's. I want to talk about the stadium because we talked about it last week after the Cubs hung, I think it was an 18 spot in the first game that was in that stadium. real quick, the game starts in 2 minutes. If you want to go bet the over 8, I would go bet the over 8. If you want home run props, I've got multiple guys I'm taking from this game. I took Fernando Tatis plus 400, Xander Bogaerts plus 650, Rooker plus 500, and Miguel, I can't pronounce his last name, Andujar plus 875. There have been 4 games that have been played in this stadium. 4 games. The total has gone over in every single game. There have been double-digit runs scored in every single game except for one last night where there were 9 scored. The road team has gone over their total prop in all 4 games. And in 4 games, 16 home runs have been hit. I realize it's a small sample size, but I also don't want to be so far behind the curve that I'm not taking advantage of this when you have the opportunity to take advantage of it. So I'm not saying blindly bet the over in every game when the A's are playing. I do think right now games are totaled between a half run and a run and a half too low, depending on the starting pitchers. Tonight's not as big of an advantage because the starting pitchers aren't awful, right? When Estes is on the mound, just take the over. But I still think that the books are slow on properly analyzing these totals because of the home run rate inside the stadium.
But Mike, I think teams are changing their approach. I think they're being less selective because they know the gaps aren't as deep. And there's more green lights. There's more like if you see a fastball, just swing at it type thing. I do think teams are adjusting their approach because they know they don't have to get all of it to get out of that stadium. Although, by the way, Tatis hit when I think it was last night there. It would have been out of Yosemite. It was like 700 feet. That thing was a tank shot. So, but there's something where I do believe teams are more lenient with their approach, where they're a little more swing happy. Because they know they don't need to get all of it to hit a homer.
Yes, it's smaller ballpark. I think the elevation matters as well. We don't have Colorado, huge elevation. They talk about the spin on the baseball all the time. The ball does not spin the same in Colorado because of the elevation in the air. I'm wondering if we're seeing a similar thing here. I need to dive into the spin rates and see if it's affecting pitching as much as it is hitting. But it was interesting because this was an A's team that went from playing in Seattle against a terrible Mariners offense in a great ballpark, immediately 3 over games against the Cubs. Last night game shouldn't have gone over. If you look through that box score, there's no way that game should have gone over. But when you hit 4 home runs in a game, it's pretty easy to get over 8.5, and that's what ended up happening. So I took the over again tonight, sitting at 8 right now. I like it there, and I think this is a great park to look at home run props right now.
By the way, that game doesn't start for another 20 minutes, so you have time.
Yeah,
We're going over Padres A's 8.
I think this game may have just started. I went under Framber Valdez strikeouts against the Mariners. It's just about to start, I believe, or it may have just started. You could probably still bet it, but it was plus price. And Framber hasn't been great against Seattle of late, last couple times out. We'll see how he does tonight. Seattle traditionally stinks against lefties, but they're familiar with him, so I thought maybe What happened, Mike, was I was killing it for about 10 days with plus money prices on strikeout props. All those guys went over. Then the books adjusted properly, but also all the teams said, hold on, we can't let these guys throw this many innings this early. We have to reel them back in, and that's what you're seeing from guys like Zach Gallen and Charlie Morton, and I think it's going to happen with Framber tonight. That's my expectation in that one.
Yeah, that interesting game as well, because we talked about games up in Seattle and what we would see the totals with in some of these Mariners home games. We talked about playing under 3.5s in the first 5 and that you're catching plus money. It's a great idea. That game tonight against the Astros, under 3, minus 115 for the first 5. So, yeah, the books adjusted a little bit there in the Seattle home games.
They have to make a trade. They just call the Orioles, you trade Luis Castillo, you get 2 young bats that are unproven, and it benefits both teams.
If the Orioles and the Seattle Mariners do not call each other and make a trade at some point during the season, both GMs should be fired. There has never been a more logical trade in any sport than those 2 swapping a bat for an arm. Go do it already. Just do it right now. Stop wasting time.
Nothing will ever top when we were trying to pull a family bet together when Chicago was at the A's, and Somich and I were on over 8, and Dustin said he was a wait-and-see approach. And they scored 6 runs in the first. He was doing the contrarian thing. I'm going to wait and see approach. No. Before you yell and act like a freaking idiot, understand that if you wait on it, they're going to adjust the number. So there was no nothing in waiting would help you. What would wait and see do for you?
But I wasn't saying you were wrong. I agreed with your premise, but I just wanted
to
see
how possibly be this mad at me, dude? I'm just saying.
Because you're acting like I went against you and you never let it die when it happens one time.
Did you not say I'm taking a wait and see approach here?
Yeah, but I didn't say I hated your bet. You're acting like I said it was a stupid bet. I thought it was a good bet, but I said personally for my bets, I was waiting and seeing how the ballpark played. For once I was logical, and I'm the idiot.
How'd that go? Let's spin this in a positive manner,
lose
though.
a bet. I didn't lose.
That's true. That's true.
Let's
Isaiah, producer Isaiah on VSiN at the Track, was watching that episode. Played Suzuki home run, Tucker home run in the over. 3 for 3.
Oh, that's right. You had a bunch of individual home run props that night too. That was a heater.
That was a fun day. Baseball, to be fair, has cooled off. I was the Burning Man, like the man walking on fire that you see on Twitter every now and then for the first week and a half. Now we're hovering around 500 since then. So hopefully we can get it going again.
And then you remember there's like 150 of these games left for each of these teams. You're like, all right, it's going to be a ride.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys do it with all these props in baseball. It's too time consuming.
Mike's got balls because I can tell you this. I'm starting to do the batter props now. I'm good at total bases. If I hit a home run prop, it'll be the first one I hit. And I'll have guys like over 1.5 total bases at plus money, and they'll get like 3 or 4, but I won't get a home run. Calling a home run prop, and by the way, the prices aren't that big anymore. So sometimes Judge is like 2.5 to 1 to hit a homer. So credit to you, Mike, for finding the home run props because that is a hard game to play.
You got to kind of hunt a little bit. You can't play the guys who hit 40 or 50 homers. You got to find situations where you're in the right ballpark with the right pitcher and the right wind and attack it in that manner. I don't usually play 4 players from a single game like I am today. Usually it's if I like an over in a game, I'm going to go to that game and I'm going to try and find 1 or 2 guys who I think could hit a home run that are plus 600 or better, right? I think the stadium's price strong right now. Until we see pitchers be able to really dominate and go deep into these games, I think I'm right. So we'll see if that happens tonight or next week or what.
I'll admit you are right because I think even with Cease and Springs on the mound, 8 is too low. And I like both. I think both those pitchers are very solid. 8 is too low. 8 would be what I would think the total would be at Petco, which is a pitcher's park. 8. Cease misses a lot of bats. He also throws really hard, which means if they connect, it's going to go a long way. And for Jeffrey Springs, he's a guy who's dealt with injuries forever. You don't know how deep he's going to go into that game. So if they don't have a lead, you may not see Mason Miller. And outside of that, who in that Oakland bullpen are you really scared of? So because of that, I do agree with you. The over 8 would be the play in that game.
My answer is I couldn't name one person in the bullpen.
Including Mason Miller.
I've played a lot of A's games. I don't think I could either, Patrick. Don't feel bad about that.
Thank you. By the way, the Lakers are beating the Thunder in OKC.
Again.
The Lakers are legit. They're legit, 92-90. And everybody's playing.
Did that game slow down? It was 262 in game total after there were 70 plus points in the first quarter.
93-90 with 3:07 to play in the third.
Yeah, 86 points in the first quarter.
Out of them. They beat the hell out of them on Sunday. They dog walked them in their own arena. I want to see, do they have the futures up? Because the Lakers did adjust. They were 19-1. They're back down to 16-1. That's a team I think I want to have a bet on in the play. I know there's a lot of flaws with them, but you're going to have Luka and LeBron who can get buckets in the final 2 minutes.
I agree.
Other teams don't have that.
What? Austin Reeves is your third option. He's pretty darn good too.
He's lit. That guy can
bad.
drop buckets.
He'll drop 30 on a random Tuesday.
He's not just my neighbor. He's got a wet jumper.
Yeah.
Hey, let me ask you guys this before we say goodbye. How much time do you both genuinely put into your baseball handicapping each day? Because I'm reading Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. I don't have time. It's a long book. That's where I'm spending most of my time. How about baseball handicapping time for you two each day?
Mike,
I will say about an hour and a half. Usually 30 minutes toward the end of the day, and then between 8 and 10 o'clock, I put an hour in on the rest of the day's games when I have an update on weather, if there's going to be any pitching change-ups, lineup changes, things like that, and then I'll check back before the games, but usually don't put any additional bets in then.
Yeah, it's between an hour and a half, but it's usually the night before I do 30, 40 minutes looking at things, and then in the morning, because a lot of odds that I'm looking for are not posted yet. But I've kind of got it down to where there are certain teams I'm pretty simple. It's left-hand pitchers, who kills lefties? Who are the guys who are platoon players that are in there just to smash a righty, big-time lefty hitters? And then for pitchers, it's fading certain offenses like Seattle and the ones at the bottom that strike out a ton. That's what I'm mostly looking at. So I kind of just look for the teams that I don't like and whoever's matching up with them if I see someone that makes sense.
Honestly, baseball is the biggest black hole betting sport. I could spend 5 hours a day handicapping these games if I wanted to, because of all the advanced stats you have around pitching and, xERA, xFIP, all like the velocity off the bat, all that kind of stuff. There are just so many stats now that I actually think you can do too much in baseball.
Paralysis.
Mike, is it the deepest menu just with all the offerings of all the sport? I mean, NFL's gotten up there, but
I think
has a lot.
It is as deep as any other sport, and the fact that it's every day makes it seem daunting at certain points.
Yeah. I'll get into it, but right now my baseball handicapping is very much vibes.
Yeah.
Well, you don't have to yet. There's other stuff happening. There's going to come a point in the calendar where it's all you got to bet on, and you can't sit games out. I know
No. There's way too much soccer right now, though. All right, Somich, get back to the fam. Appreciate you. Again, quickly on the weekends with your boy Matt Brown. My thing won't load. Can you give the time?
Yeah, we got Ready, Set, Bet, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern, Saturday and Sunday for everything across all the sports. You've got VSiN at the track Friday, 11:15 a.m. Pacific, 2:15 p.m. Eastern. And you want NFL draft content? Your boy's hosting the NFL draft on VSiN as well. So make sure you check that out. If you want to get gambling content during the draft live, come check out VSiN, and I'll be hosting that show too.
Who are you doing that with?
Matt Brown and Humans. It's a lineup, baby.
I don't know why that made me laugh so hard. Hey, God bless you. Mike Somich at SamoBomb18 on Twitter. Thank you. We'll talk to you soon.
Have a good one, boys. Let's get that over home in Sacramento, I guess.
In West Sacramento, 8 minus $1.15. And by the way, we're about to get underway. We're at regulation with the Avs. I'm in on it. We'll come back, close tabs. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson. Now back to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio with Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, so you know the donk Jacob back in New York City hanging out with Naya, she is a
puts up with a
superhero.
lot.
What she deals with, and she is like the best producer we've worked with, but she has to deal with a bunch of just stupid-ass men being
Disgusting.
stupid and chauvinistic. But anyway, Jacob. So our boy Jacob, he's just a loose cannon, you know. He's got 2 dates tomorrow, like an hour and a half apart, and then he just dropped this nugget on us. The dates are at the same restaurant. He wants to get caught.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. He doesn't want. You're not going out with these women for the right reasons. You're going out for the excitement of 2 dates. It's 2 girls, 1 cup. 2 dates, 1 night, same restaurant. You want the thrill. You want the excitement. You want the being sneaky. That's what's doing it for you. You're not going to get to know either of them. You're not going to date them long term. You're not going to marry them. You're just wasting your time and your money in this situation to feel good in that hour and a half span where it crosses over.
He just said 2.5 hours apart. Sorry, be persnickety. How old is that donk? How old is Jacob?
20. I'm going to guess 26.
28. That also tracks. Too old to be that big of a donk. Let's get to
No.
Look,
when I'm
but
telling
now
you
we
you're
do
going too
have to
far.
have the update. We have to find out. I am going to be curious how the 2 dates went.
No, that's the unfortunate part. Is as much as I want to hate on Jacob, I am curious of how it goes.
Yeah, I am too. Now, I have a pretty good idea as to how both dates are going to go.
Oh yeah. I think it's more likely the 2 dates end up with each other than either of them ends up with Jacob.
They're definitely going to be commiserating. That guy was a donk. Close tabs on the way out here.
Let's do it. All right. You opened the show saying we now turn the page. That is a Bob Seger reference. So I need to know, where does Turn the Page rank in your favorite Seger songs?
Ooh, good question. It's a top 3.
Okay, I think it's fair. Night
It's
Moves
a top
up there?
3.
Night Moves?
Night Moves is good. It's a very good one. It's not better than Turn the Page.
Okay. All right, Patrick, you also gave out the Maple Leafs. You said no need to tip you. I'm the one who handles your social media. You can now follow Patrick on OnlyFans at onlyfans.com/therap radio, where he accepts tips.
Yeah, because I handed it. That was a fat loser that I handed out today. Sorry about that.
A few more things. The Red Wings, we mentioned the octopus. It means symbolizing the 8 wins needed to win the cup. It was started by Pete and Jerry Cusimano, who were fish market owners, who first threw the octopus.
Yeah, the
on
Cusimanos.
ice.
Yep.
That's who it was.
Legends in Detroit.
Recapping the Houston Cougars season, there is a player named Joseph Tugler. Fun fact, Tugler was my nickname in the freshman dorms in college.
Okay. All right. We were clowning Jacob, but literally you could see that coming from 100 miles away.
But I've been waiting all tournament to drop that one. Sammy Baugh was mentioned by Bill and Chevy Chase. I asked him if he liked watching him play. He played from 1937 to 1952. So Bill informed us he did not watch him.
No, but you've missed out on it. Bill and Chevy Chase babysat his kids.
And also, I'm going to buy the SI swimsuit issue for the first time ever. You know who's on the cover?
Who?
Haley Van Lith, TCU basketball star.
I think I know that one. It's pretty good.
Big fan.
Oh, Mike in the OC said he'll give us $5 if we let him on the air. We ran out of time, but $10 tomorrow. VSiN Live. We'll see you tomorrow. It's Bad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio.